Chapter 326 Kyle's Small World, Earth. In the channel composed of vows, countless fragments of law smoothly merge into Kyle's body, and the vows space opened up in his body after Kyle became the domain master level. Instantly. The originally chaotic space suddenly flashed with colorful colors, losing the control of its will. Countless fragments of law were like headless flies, instantly flying in this space, looking for something that could place itself. With the riots of these laws, the space in Kyle's body was gradually being supported by the laws. This is the first step to starting a small world. Through the fragments of the laws of the main world, the space that originally stored the willpower becomes a complete and ruled world. The more fragments of the law are in the first fusion, the more perfect the initial state of the small world will be. Of course, from this moment on, the content Kyle wanted to show to everyone in the dusk was over. The rest is that he needs to use the fusion of laws to quickly send the resources he has obtained from the Star Federation into the small world with his will. This is a benefit that can only be enjoyed in the period when the law of absorption in the small world is fully formed. During this period, because the laws of the small world are the same as those of the main world, even if resources are transferred, they will not consume too much of their wishes. But once the small world is completely formed and has evolved its own laws, it is not an easy task to convert resources between the two worlds. Even at the domain master level, such things are rarely done, because the final result is often not worth the loss. Only the main level of the world can not care about the consumption of world transformation, and can even transport the creatures in the world to the main world, or transform the creatures in the main world into a small world. Just like the Bella sisters. And the newly formed small world is very fragile, and not everything can be stuffed into it casually. Only the origin of the domain master level is considered a precious object, which is most suitable for the newly formed small world. Fortunately, Kyle walked through the back door and exchanged a lot of original things through the Star Federation. With sufficient preparation and experience, whenever Kyle saw that the laws of an area in the small world were fixed, he immediately waved his hand and sent the corresponding original object into that area. As time goes by, a small world with light and darkness suddenly appeared in Kyle's body. Once this small world appeared, Kyle's aura suddenly increased. Strength has been directly increased from the first level of the domain master level to level 3. The realm division at the domain master level is actually no different from other realms, and it also ranges from the first level to the 9th level. However, after the domain master level, the improvement of the realm is no longer equated with the individual strength. It depends on whether the small world is powerful or not. It can be said that after becoming the domain master level, the small world is their essence. As for this body in the main world, it has become a tool for action and expression. After the domain master level, if the small world is there, then people are there. If a small world dies, people die. If you want to kill a domain master, what you need is not to defeat him in the main world. Instead, we must completely conquer or destroy the other party's world through the collision of small worlds. It can be said that from this moment on, Kyle has become a world. As the small world finally came to fruition, Kyle also began to disperse the people who came to observe the dusk. Next, he carefully planned the day for the small world. In this process, he needed to consume a lot of time and vows, so he handed over many things in the Dusk Star realm directly to his subordinates with management talents. He himself was Da, riding on the Tiga, leading some of his subordinates to wander aimlessly in the universe. While continuing to load character cards for people in the star field and collecting their wishes, they began to polish their own small world carefully. There is nothing special about this small world created by Kyle. Following the experience of other domain masters, it is best not to inject too much energy into the small world that has just been formed. The simpler it is, the easier it is to develop the small world. So the small world inside Kyle's body is actually a world like a sandbox. The world adopts the form of a round sky and a sun, without a starry sky, but it has the law that can emit light and heat and can alternate day and night. Without magic or spiritual energy, there is no messy special abilities. Everything is based on the most basic natural force in Kyle's cognition. That is the blue planet where he was in his previous life, the Earth. Yes. The small world created by Kyle is all based on his understanding of the Earth. Kyle, he is ready to rely on his own hands to create a brand new Earth. Of course, he did not want to turn his world into a simple world of technology. From the laws of the main world, he also selected many power systems to integrate into his own world. However, all these power systems that are not available for the time being were hidden by him on the back of the small world, and were reserved for preparations for cultivating the world's creatures in the future. At this time, Kyle's attention was all focused on the vast ocean in the sandbox world. In this place where the origin and birth of life are born, a group of simple single-cell organisms are constantly splitting and reproducing at an extremely fast speed. And these single-celled life spanned by the original things are the main reason why Kyle can directly break through from the first level to the third level. Life is the most important existence for the small world. It was not until this time that Kyle realized how genius the previous cosmic peak Ryan was. That guy was able to create a complete world model with his cosmic 9th level strength through the accumulation of time. Although that small world does not have life, and its scale is extremely simple. But that is obviously not something that a non-domain master can do. It can be seen that there must be some secrets that Kyle has not dug out in Ryan. Generally speaking, this kind of person should be the existence of the pride of heaven and the protagonist of the novel. It's a pity that the universe is too vast, and nothing happens will not surprise you. Just like he, who should have been the protagonist, lost in the war in the Monty Star domain, just like he encountered a bigger bet Kyle. This is the mystery of the universe. WLG life has begun to cover the Earth's single-celled organisms have also begun to gradually merge into multicellular organisms. The first step to the origin of species is finally completed. After nearly a month of busy life, Kyle made all the rules of the small world, looking at the sandbox world inside his body, couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Despite the guidance of the domain master level seniors, the world everyone wants to create is a different existence, so many things Kyle can only cross the river by feeling the stones and explore bit by bit. Fortunately, he has enough trial and error costs, and his starting point is already much higher than that of most domain masters. As for the development of the small world, since it is to create a brand new Earth, Kyle also chose to use biological evolution process described in Origin of Species that he learned in class before. Although he has seen thousands of planets with different laws, he knows that the birth of civilization on a planet may not be explained by science and experience. But anyway, this is his world. He said Darwin was right, so he was right. The next thing is to leave everything to time to decide. Kyle smiled slightly, thoughts moved, and found the law of time in the small world, and then injected a lot of vows, instantly quickly moving the time that was originally synchronized with the main world. In a blink of an eye, the sandbox world in front of Kyle changed wildly. First, algae vegetation occupied the entire area land, and then different species gradually differentiated, and some began to evolve towards conventional plant life. On the other hand, the multicellular life in the ocean also began to change. In the small world, the first life that looked like a bug appeared, floating in the sea. It is the earliest animal, chordates. The world is evolving wildly. And the wish power accumulated by Kyle during this period is also disappearing quickly. Finally, just the last second before his will was completely drained, the first terrestrial animal was born. Let's get here today. As time flowed for a long time, Kyle shook his dizzy head and looked at his already bottomed up and stopped the acceleration of time. The time flow rate in the sandbox world is once again flush with the main world. In the next time, as long as Kyle has the will, he will accelerate the small world in time and allow it to evolve rapidly. And his strength began to improve as the species in the small world became more and more numerous. It's just that because Kyle hides those extraordinary laws and all life is still at the lowest level, Kyle's strength improvement is not very obvious. But all of this is within his plan. He was not very anxious about improving his realm and was mentally prepared for it. Normally, when you have the first planetary rank in the small world, you can be promoted to the 4th level of the domain master level. If the small world has the first star level, it can be promoted to the 5th level of the domain master level. If you have the first cosmic level, you can be promoted to the 6th level of the domain master. The subsequent improvement of the realm depends on the cosmic class and number in the small world. In fact, with Kyle's current resources and willingness, he can use some special means to spawn a star-level existence in his small world. However, this will make it difficult for Kyle to allow the small world to evolve on a large scale. After all, the higher the energy level of a living body, the more willing he needs to accelerate time. At the beginning, when the world was still a single-celled organism, it could even accelerate for hundreds of millions of years. But when the first animal is found, the time acceleration consumption begins to increase exponentially. At the same time, the level of civilization is also an important factor affecting the consumption of voluntary power. So Kyle would rather spend more time in the early stages to lay a solid foundation for his small world and then pursue a higher realm. After all, he has a big plan. To cultivate a domain master, what is needed is not only resources, but more importantly, methods and methods. What's more, the domain master level is not so easy to cultivate. In order to make his future path smoother, Kyle has already set a never-ending path to improvement for his world. Now, what he has to do is to continuously increase the scale of the world. The Earth is just a starting point. Time passes slowly. In a universe without specific alternating day and night and stars, time has become the most easily overlooked concept. Especially when it is infinitely stretched. No one knows how many situations have passed. The only one who can prove that time is perhaps Luffy and Zoro, who have just ascended to the 6th level of the universe. And the 1/10 of the Twilight Star domain creatures that have been completely devoted to Kyle's command. On the Tiga, Kyle looked at the residents of his small world with a playful look, with a faint smile on his face. With his unremitting efforts, the Earth has successfully derived human civilization. And now, this human civilization has evolved into modern civilization. It's just that because Kyle used some methods to pull seedlings to facilitate growth, this modern civilization has some deformities. Of course, what is deformed is not the individual living beings, but the entire civilization. This is a world where war has never broken out. Once human beings appear, they become the overlord of the world. Under the wisdom of rapid development of human beings, they quickly drove away the wild beasts and created a living space belonging to human beings. And a large number of leaders appeared like a miracle, leading the human race to master some survival abilities such as planting, animal husbandry, medical skills, and manufacturing tools. Nowadays, this world is ruled by a dynasty called Washa. Of course, this was a name created by Kyle intentionally and influenced the human race with his identity as the Lord of the world. The ideas that flashed inspiration, including those before, such as chiseling wood to make fire, creating words, tasting hundreds of herbs, and planting animal husbandry, were all from the hands of the Lord of the world, Kyle. However, from beginning to end, Kyle showed no signs of his existence. He even deliberately prevented the birth of all religious civilizations. Make people believe that all this they have now is because of their own greatness. It is because of the wisdom of our ancestors. He pushed everything to the leaders of those human beings. Let the human race in their small world believe in their own power from beginning to end, and believe that no matter what kind of difficulties they encounter, they can overcome them with their own power. And this noble quality is exactly what Kyle wants to see in these little guys. Inside the captain of the Tiga, it seems that modern technologies such as computers, cars, and planes have begun to be developed. The little guys, Kyle's mouth slowly raised and said softly. It's time. It's time to let these little guys see the true face of this world. I hope you don't let me down. Chapter 327 Dusk Space. Earth, Chinese Civilization, Linhai City. 16-year-old Yi Fan was lying in an ordinary but clean room, looking at the ceiling above his head with a dull expression. Just a few days ago, his life suffered a major setback. First, his parents died in a car accident, and then his childhood sweetheart who agreed to get married as a child also threw himself into the arms of a yellow-haired man after entering high school and drew a clear line with him. He is now at the lowest point in his life, and he has lost the motivation and hope to survive. Several times, he wanted to end his tragic fate. But he lacks the courage to face death. Everything seems to have become meaningless. It's better to play games. Perhaps because he felt too bored, Yi Fan, who had been lying for a long time, slowly stood up and looked at the computer that had not moved for several days and had fallen into a layer of dust. As the screen light shone on Yi Fan's haggard face, he clicked on the familiar game interface. Just looking at the game that once made him excited and played for one night, Yi Fan didn't feel anything at this moment. He put his finger on the mouse, but he refused to click it for a long time. What am I going to do? Such an idea suddenly appeared in Yi Fan's mind. Just when he was helpless and wanted to turn off the game, a pop-up message suddenly appeared on his desktop. Do you understand the meaning of life? Want to be truly alive? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket yes close black lens bracket or open black lens bracket yes close black lens bracket. Yi Fan's eyes suddenly became stunned, and he looked at the information that suddenly popped up on the computer desktop for unknown reasons. Is there a virus in the computer? What era is it? You even use such a old pop-up ad to deceive people. At least you can put photos of two AI ladies. Yi Fan complained in his heart. If it were in the past, he would never care about such spam advertisements that might cause harm to his baby's computer. But now he is discouraged, perhaps because he wants to see what kind of garbage game it is, and he will also make such spam advertisements. He actually pressed the yes button by a silly manner. Instantly, a bright white light suddenly enveloped Yi Fan. Just when he thought that this boring spam advertisement was about to start persecuting his computer, a dizzy feeling suddenly hit Yi Fan's brain, making him feel like he was flying up, and he was in a kind of state. A supportive and restless state. But this situation only lasted for a moment. When Yi Fan opened his eyes again, he had already arrived on a huge pure white square. He quickly looked around and suddenly found that the entire square was full of confused people with similar surprises to him. And at this moment, a voice suddenly came into the minds of everyone present. Welcome to Dunny Space. Close black lens bracket. A colorful black light ball suddenly rose from the center of the square. The streaming light on it seemed to represent the emotions of this big light ball, and it kept flashing with its tone. Downhill space. Looking at the bizarre scene in front of him, Yi Fan's eyes instantly showed a look of fear. But before he could be scared and retreated, a mysterious memory suddenly appeared in his cognition. Dusk space, an arena created by the god of creation. Those who can come here are those who have lost hope in real life. Here, all humans will become players in the dusk space and go to countless other worlds with mysterious power to complete various tasks. During this period, they could only live in the dusk space and could not return to the real world. If they die in the mission, they will really die. In the end, it is not until their strength reaches the recognition of the dusk space, transcends the world, and becomes a transcendent, that they have the qualifications to get rid of everything. By completing tasks or obtaining special items in the mission world and learning extraordinary abilities, they will receive a large amount of points given by the dusk space. Points are hard currency in dusk space. In the Space Mall, they can use points to buy anything, including creating clones as they please, and living with players. Now, Yi Fan and the others are the first players in the dusk space. Task points superior. Quickly digesting the memory information in his mind, Yi Fan's mouth widened and wider. But soon, he began to silently recite the panel in his mind as the message prompted. In an instant, something that would not affect his vision at all and was like a game panel suddenly appeared in front of him. Open black lens bracket name, Yi Fan close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Dunyan number, 12138 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket level, not level 1 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket points, 0 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket skill, none close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket props, none close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket task, To be accepted 23 hours 57 minutes and 23 seconds close black lens bracket. According to the information in my mind, Yi Fan already knew that the twilight level was divided into uninterested, planetary, and stellar, cosmic level, transcendent. Each level is divided into 1 to 10 levels. And ordinary people like them who have no power will be divided into the first level by the system. Although he was not sure what was behind these levels, as a young man who usually likes to play games, Yi Fan quickly accepted all this. It's good to have dusk space. Anyway, I have long wanted to say goodbye to the real world. No matter what, even if I die here, I will be willing. Yi Fan, who had adapted to his new identity, had a thought, turned off his attribute panel, followed the prompts in his mind, and walked towards his own exclusive space. At the same time, main world. Kyle, who had just conquered another galaxy and harvested a lot of star coins, returned to the captain's room and lay lazily on the chair. Immediately, my consciousness suddenly sinks and enters my own small world. I begin to observe from the perspective of God. It seems that the artificial intelligence created by this cosmic-level powerhouse is really powerful, and it is worth spending so much effort to send it over. Looking at the dusk space where he had no intervention at all but had already started to operate officially, Kyle showed a satisfied smile on his face. After countless years of baptism, his sandbox world has now completely turned into two sides of positive and negative yin and yang. The front is still the ordinary human world he created before. Under his control, humans in this world already have the concept of starry sky and universe. And above the sky, normal stars such as the sun and the moon have appeared. Certainly. With Kyle's current willingness accumulated, it is impossible to create a true vast universe. At this time, the only solar system is the real existence in the starry sky, and other places are just maps created by Kyle with his will. As for this small world, it has not evolved into a real planet, and it is still like a villain in the sandbox. But the area of this planet is far greater than that of the conventional planet Kyle has seen in the universe. Because he created a space for human survival by using an entire galaxy-sized area. Then Kyle used the power of laws to connect the space at the edge of the world together, making the world a complete cycle, so people in this world naturally recognized the concept that the Earth they live in was an elliptical planet. As for why he did this in one go. In fact, everything is the back of the real world. The desire to create hidden spaces and other things in the small world is really too huge. The desire to open up a small space is enough for Kyle to expand the size of the world into an additional 100 small spaces. What's more, the small world today has not been fully utilized. What truly exists is just on that land. The method Kyle used is to open up a new world on the back of the small world. That is the current dusk space. It is different from the real world with a sky above your head. This huge space in the size of a solar system has been divided into mission spaces of varying sizes by Kyle. Inside the space is a projection world created by various wishes. Because it is just a projection, not much is needed, and Kyle can reset these task spaces at any time. Kyle's ultimate goal is to imitate a special world that can keep growing stronger through the main god space he saw in the novel in his previous life. The main god of dusk is an artificial intelligence created by Bergapunk and several cosmic mechanical families. According to Kyle's requirements, this artificial intelligence is not given to an emotional system, but it has powerful computing power at the cosmic level. Even if it allows it to control all task space at the same time, there will definitely be no problems, and even the computing power will be more abundant. In addition, Kyle also gave this artificial intelligence many permissions, such as the small world space laws, allowing him to teleport people from the front air surface to the back space anytime and anywhere. And it can also detect all human emotions and evaluate whether a human has the value of cultivation. Of course, it is not just the guys who have dying ambitions to be introduced into the dusk space. The information conveyed by the AI main god to players is mainly to make them subtly think that even if they do not enter the dusk space, they will seek short-sightedness, thereby achieving the effect of soothing emotions and allowing them to adapt quickly. If the AI main god really finds someone with a high score in the real world, of course it will not hesitate at all and directly pull it into the dusk space. As for why Kyle didn't create a normal world of cultivation, he instead did a fancy job. In fact, this is the fastest way to cultivate the domain master level after he carefully calculated it. According to his understanding, ordinary domain masters routinely create a world with ways of cultivation, and then constantly invest their wishes in the world, causing the level of the world to continue to increase and the resources to become richer. When the time is right, select a Son of Destiny, and give him various resources and opportunities to quickly become stronger and move towards the realm of the domain lord. However, not only does this cultivation method cost a lot, but it only suffers from time. It will take thousands, tens of thousands of years, or even longer if it is consumed. Kyle doesn't have that much heart to wait now. But at this stage of domain lord, the power of the system cannot provide him with additional help except to make the power he can obtain more powerful. After some careful consideration, Kyle chose to build his small world into what he is today. The advantage of Dusk Space is that it skips the changes and accumulation of world levels and directly provides resources to a few players selected by the AI main god. And through projected worlds in different mission spaces, not only can we select the best individuals like raising a GU, but we can also broaden the horizons of players through these worlds so that their path to promotion will not be limited to a certain force. Above the system. If you cannot practice magic, you can use Do-Chi to increase your strength. If you cannot do Do-Chi, you can create your own mechanical prosthetic body. If you do not have enough prosthetic body, you can go to the Dusk Mall to buy devil fruits with special power, giving you a brand new path. After experiencing the broadened horizon of mission space, players will understand themselves more and know more clearly what methods to use to make themselves stronger quickly. Moreover, the willingness consumed in this way is far more cost-effective than the willingness consumed in transforming the world. The only consumption is projecting the world and cultivating players. It is not an exaggeration to use good steel on the blade. Even more than that. Kyle was not sure if there were any other domain masters in the universe who chose the same way as him to cultivate the small world. But according to what he knew when talking to the domain owners of the Star Federation, at least most domain owners in the Star Federation use conventional methods of cultivating the world. Once Kyle achieves certain achievements through this cultivation method, he believes that there will be endless regional masters, who would rather completely destroy his own small world than replicate his way to cultivate. It's not that they don't want to concentrate all the resources of a world to provide excellent individual practice. Instead, without sufficient system and environment influence, the cultivation of a few individuals will be like feeling the stones across the river, extremely slowly. During this period, it is easy to undergo huge changes in the mind and nature, which makes it extra difficult to practice. After all, practice before the cosmic level can be guaranteed with hard work and talent. But after the cosmic level, it is not just about hard work and talent. Even if they are successfully promoted to the domain master level under the guidance of the domain master, they may find it difficult to survive because they lack the support of the main world. Kyle's method allows players to experience good cultural influence and baptism in the real world. Even if they have never been exposed to cultivation, they will not be unable to start because of sudden practice. It can be said to be a perfecta plan to cultivate individuals in small worlds. At this moment, under Kyle's observation, the first batch of players have entered their mission space. In the first trial run, Kyle did not ask the AI main god to invite too many players, but chose 3,000 people. In order to test the stability of the mission space, Kyle even asked the AI main god to throw these 3,000 people into the same mission space. It was also carefully created by Kyle. Pirate World. Chapter 328 The 10 Rings of Newcomers. Pirate World, East China Sea. A small island near Kekea West Village. Damn the fishman, sooner or later, I will kill you all. Plop. With the sound of a heavy object falling into the water, Yi Fan's gaze suddenly darkened and he fell into the sea. Instantly. The bitterness of salty taste suddenly penetrated into Yi Fan's mouth. He did not dare to delay the escape opportunity created by the villagers with their lives for him. He used the pretty good physical energy cultivated in physical education classes to wander quickly in the sea. In order to avoid being discovered by the fishman, he even squeezed his lung capacity to the extreme. Once discovered by those monster-like fishmen, he has no chance of escaping. Damn it! Why does a newcomer have such a difficult task? Yi Fan waved his arms in the water desperately. If he hadn't drawn AD-level skill of sports expert in the novice gift package, which greatly improved his swimming skills, he might have choked to death in the sea because of the initial diving. According to the size of the villager who helped him escape, there was an abandoned small fishing boat on the edge of the village. The previous owner of the fishing boat has been killed by the fisherman, so the boat may be able to continue to use it to help him escape from the island. There is no way out. Perhaps the Lord God will not issue a mission that will surely die. Finally, before Yi Fan's physical energy was about to be exhausted, he found the abandoned fishing boat the villagers mentioned. Fortunately, the fishing boat was not damaged in any way except for a lot of dust and water stains. Finding a sharp stone and setting off the reins tied to the ship, Yi Fan used the simple knowledge of operating the sailboat seen on the internet to drive the fishing boat away from this small island full of life-threatening danger. It was not until the shadow of the island disappeared from Yi Fan's sight that he suddenly gasped and collapsed into the fishing boat in a weak manner. Mad. Is this the dusk space? The first task is to play people like this. Yi Fan stretched out his arm covering the dazzling sunshine in the sky, cursing loudly. His heart, which was silent because of the tragic life, once again started to beat violently. The feeling of blood expansion made Yi Fan deeply realize the fact that he is still alive. After a while, Yi Fan stood up, took out the compass and charts given to him by the villagers before leaving, and began to clumsily control the sails to prevent the fisherman from walking away. It was not until he did all this that he sat down again and opened the task panel in his consciousness. Congratulations to player Yi Fan, he has completed the newcomer mission The First Ring, Escape Day, and the reward accumulation will be distributed after the player successfully returns to the dusk space. Close black lens bracket. Now start the newcomer mission Second Ring, the initial choice. Close black lens bracket. Task Introduction. Congratulations to players, you have passed the initial test of this world and successfully survived. Next, please carefully explore the world and choose a force to join according to your own judgment. Close black lens bracket. The recommended forces to choose: Pirates, Navy, Revolutionary Army, World Government, Pirate Hunters, Bandits, and National Forces. Depending on the different forces selected by the player, the third ring of the newcomer mission will be opened. Close black lens bracket. Let me choose a force. Looking at the various information given by the system, Yi Fan gradually calmed down and began to think. First of all, he will definitely not choose pirates or something. Anyone with a normal education probably wouldn't want to be a pirate. Recalling the cruel scenes of the villagers being rampantly killed by fishmen, Yi Fan couldn't help but clench his fists. According to the introduction of the First Ring mission, he knew that this sea area was now being ruled by a fishman pirate group called the Dragon Pirate Group. In this sea area, the fishmen and the navy colluded, requiring the villagers here to pay a large amount of fees every month, otherwise they would have to be killed. The village where he was in wanted to seek help from outside because he could not pay the high protection fee. As a result, the naval base they went to happened to be the naval base that colluded with the fishmen. After discovering the villagers' resistance, the dragon pirates directly sent people to massacre the entire village in order to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. When Yi Fan traveled over, it was the time when the killer of the fishman pirates had just landed on the island. Fortunately, as soon as he appeared, he was discovered by the village sheriff. After recognizing that he was not from the village, the sheriff immediately explained to Yi Fan about fishing boats and other matters, and took the initiative to find the fisherman with a gun to help him. This irrelevant person fled here. Pirate Navy. Looking at the two forces standing in the front of the mission panel, Yi Fan's eyes suddenly burst into anger of hatred. Obviously, he was kind and could no longer choose these two forces that gave him a very bad impression. In the end, he chose Pirate Hunter among all the forces. The reason is also very simple. Among the power options provided by the mission panel, only pirates and pirate hunter can be directly served by individuals. The other options have certain restrictions. For example, if you want to choose a revolutionary army, you must find a person from the revolutionary army. If you want to join the navy, you must find a naval base. If you want to be a bandit, you must find a mountain. Only pirates and pirate hunters can choose directly as long as the player has a thought. Of course, the disadvantages are also obvious. Those who choose this method to complete the second ring mission are most likely to have to fight alone. But even so, Yi Fan still firmly decided on his choice. This second ring mission is obviously just an overuse. After selecting the power, the real task process is you need to complete the 10-ring novice mission before you can return to the dusk space. There is no need to waste too much time here. Thoughts flashed, and Yi Fan silently recited in his mind. I'm a pirate hunter. In an instant, the task panel that he had been opening immediately changed and several messages came. Congratulations to player Yi Fan, who has completed the newcomer mission second ring. Now the newcomer mission is opened, the third ring, the foundation of survival. Close black lens bracket. Task introduction. Congratulations to players, you have chosen to become a pirate hunter. As a galloping and hunting evil people on the sea, you need to have strong power. Close black lens bracket. Players are now asked to explore on their own and learn a skill that can be recognized by the twilight space in the pirate world. Close black lens bracket. Did the disadvantages come so quickly? After confirming the newcomer mission in the third ring, Yi Fan frowned and complained unhappily. Obviously, if he chose the Navy, Revolutionary Army, or joined other countries, he could quickly complete the mission of this third ring through the resources of these forces. But, since even a skill like a sports expert can be rated as D level, I believe this task should not be too difficult. Although the sports expert suddenly made Yi Fan an all-rounder in sports, this is a skill that is not very helpful to combat after all. Yi Fan guessed that the reason why this skill can have level D is entirely because of the word, full, in its name. In the system, the skill's levels range from high to low or SSS, SS, S, A, B, C, D, E, and F, with a total of 9 levels. As long as you learn AF level skill, you can pass the system's judgment. So, is the difficulty of this task really determined the skills to learn? Looking at the navigation chart in his hand, Yi Fan fell into deep thought. At the same time, just as Yi Fan was thinking about how to complete the third ring mission, all over the pirate world, there were also a lot of fun things that belonged to the legends of the future. East China Sea, Xiluobu Village. Inside the villa of Kia's house. A cool woman in a tight Special Forces uniform covered her bleeding abdomen and pressed her blood vessels to prevent excessive blood loss. She held a modern pistol that was as dark as she looked vigilantly at Meili and others who were already frightened in front of her. Seeing the mysterious woman who shot Krabatel killed, pointing her gun at him, Meili was immediately frightened. But at this moment, a delicate voice suddenly came from the second floor of the villa. What happened, Meili? Why did I hear gunshots? I saw Kia walking down the stairs weakly in a pair of cute rabbit slippers. Miss Kia, be careful. Don't come down. After seeing Kia's figure, Meili immediately ran towards the stairs in panic and blocked Kia directly with her body. Then he came back to his senses from the shock just now and said carefully to the woman holding a sharp weapon. Yuho or you, why did you kill Krabatel? Krabatel. Humph. Lin Lu snorted lightly, and a disdainful smile appeared on her face. Although she is also a newcomer who knows nothing about dusk space, with years of experience in spying, she still analyzes the matter based on the mission introduction, the surrounding environment, and the frightened expression on Meili's face. Perhaps. After quickly organizing the language in his mind, Lin Lu immediately smiled. You idiots, the pirates have already hidden by your side, but you don't even know it yet. Fortunately, I, a pirate hunter, happened to pass by here and helped you solve this guy. Pirate, how is that possible? After Lin Lu finished speaking, a burst of exclamations immediately sounded in the entire Kia villa. Meili recalled the ferocity that Butler Krabatel showed before his death, and did not immediately doubt Lin Lu's words. You mean Krabatel is a pirate? Of course. Lin Lu continued to snort and laughed, and then directly told the information in the first ring task panel. This guy is the captain of the Black Cat Pirates. After pretending to die and escape, he hid in your house just to compete for the property of the Kia family. What? At this time, Kaya, who was protected by Meili, couldn't bear it and poked half of her body out from behind Meili. Looking at the butler Krabatel who was meticulous to him on the ground, he became dumbfounded. Lin Lu instantly found the person with an IQ online presence, and he said directly to Meili. I don't need to lie to you. I believe that with your financial resources, you should be able to figure out the appearance of the Black Cat Pirates captain. You can go and compare and see if what I said is true. This. Meili hesitated for a moment, then nodded immediately. I understand. I'll find out now. Before this, please ask this pirate hunter lady to move to the guest room first. I will send you medicine to deal with your injuries. To be honest, after seeing Krabatel easily causing a knife-like scar on Lin Lu's body with his fingers, he already believed that Lin Lu was 80%. The remaining 20% were also worried that the other party would be unfavorable to Miss Kia and had any other intentions. If Lin Lu hadn't seen that she was also a woman, this proportion would have been higher. After ordering people to take care of the shocked Kia, Meili took action and called a naval colonel who had been with Kia Chamber of Commerce. Soon, the other side passed the bounty order from Captain Crow 3 years ago by fax. It cannot be said that it is irrelevant, it can only be said that it is exactly the same. Krabatel, is he really a pirate? When she thought that she had worked with a pirate who burned, killed, looted, and committed all kinds of evil for 3 years, and let him take care of Miss Kia alone, Meili was instantly shocked and sweated. Fortunately, this pirate has now fallen under the gun of the pirate hunter Miss. Speaking of which, the gun is extremely powerful and the bullet is extremely fast, and it is obviously not a simple gun. After thinking about it, Meili immediately arranged a few waiters to send Lin Lu the best healing medicine in the villa. Then he immediately took Chloe's reward order and ran to the second floor to find Kia. On the other side. After Lin Lu, who was sent into the guest room, made sure that there was no one outside the door, she immediately let out a weak muffled groan, staggered towards the bed, and then pounced on the soft quilt. Hissed Tilda. It hurts so much. You can actually practice your fingers as sharp as your knife. Are all people in this world monsters? Lin Lu complained softly. But with the willpower of the trainee agent, she sat up after resting for several seconds. A faint green light suddenly erupted from the palm of the wound. Under the reflection of the green light, the scars on Lin Lu's abdomen were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. And this is the best quality arrival of Lin Lu in the novice gift package, a skill with level B, Palm Fairy. In fact, when he just killed Chloe and confronted Meili and other bodyguards, Lin Lu had already used the art of Palm to secretly treat himself. However, although this skill has powerful effects, its consumption is also amazing. In order to avoid being exhausted due to the treatment of the injury, Lin Lu only treated the wound halfway, and then stopped after it was not as big as a dead person. Now that her physical strength has recovered slightly, she immediately used the magic of palming again to restore her body as soon as possible. After all, in this mysterious and unknown mission world, who knows what other strange things will happen. And that's just now, I called myself a pirate hunter because I made an excuse to reassure the other party, but I happened to complete the second link of the newcomer mission. The mission of the third ring: learn a skill that can be recognized by the system. Miss Kia, who looks gentle and weak, seems to be a young girl who is not very good at dealing with the world. I wonder if I can take advantage of the resources of the Kia family to make my newcomer task more smoothly. Chapter 329 Strategy Manual. Lin Lu stared at the mission panel and thought quickly. After passing her across the dusk space, it happened to meet Chloe in secretly talking with his subordinates. Although Lin Lu didn't react to anything at that time, Chloe, who could be secretly discovered for himself, attacked him with one claw. Fortunately, her instinctive reaction allowed her to avoid Chloe's fatal blow, otherwise this would not be the only injury on her body. Chloe was also a little surprised at the time. He didn't expect that a girl dressed in weird clothes could avoid his full-speed attack. It was just taking advantage of his moment of silence that Lin Lu quickly took out the pistol that entered the dusk space with her. Then, at the speed that Chloe could not react at all, he shot 3 times in a row, ending Chloe's life. Now that she calmed down and thought about it again, she realized that she had walked on the line of life and death without realizing it. Is this the task of the dusk space? Just a newcomer one-link mission is already like this. The next tasks will not be more abnormal than the other one. I hope I can keep winning. The East China Sea is the most famous in the United States in the country, in a lush jungle. With a violent rustling sound of grass and trees shaking, a burly man with blood on his head was fleeing wildly in the jungle. Damn it! How could there be such a big bear in the world? Are you cheating in the dusk space? If you want me to die, you can just say it. Li Kuizhang, whose clothes were damaged, shouted in a mess, while constantly drilling into various small bushes. He never thought he was nearly 2 meters tall and weighed nearly 300 kilograms. One day he would rely on his short size to avoid hunters' tracking. Behind him, a huge black bear 5 meters tall was roaring loudly, chasing Li Kuizhang with his teeth and claws. Ow! The deafening roar shocked the entire forest. The bushes that dared to stand in front of it were all slapped by one of its palms and turned into wreckage on the ground. At this moment, the black bear is like an invincible god of war, vowing to tear the guy in front of him who disturbs his sleep. Seeing the distance between the black bear and himself getting closer, Li Kuizhang instantly showed a sad face. Although he has flexibility and agility that does not fit his body, in the face of the absolute power gap, these are not enough to allow him to escape from the sky and complete the first mission in the dusk space. Do you have to explain this to me here? Even a novice mission has not been completed. Li Kuizhang was very dissatisfied. As a world-famous wilderness survival anchor, after accidentally falling off a cliff, he was directly teleported to the dusk space by the Dusk Lord. Although he loves adventure, he doesn't like to play games and rarely read fantasy novels, he still fell in love with the dusk space instantly. Here, he will have the opportunity to go to thousands of interesting worlds to experience a tense and exciting adventure career, and make his life more perfect. However, he never thought that the first mission in the dusk space would actually send him to death. No, if you continue like this, you will definitely not be able to waste this big black bear. I'm the chosen one who draws S-level skills, so I must not just fall here one. We must think of other solutions. As an adventure-loving person, Li Kuizhang has an extremely powerful advantage, that is, the more he is in danger, the more flexible and calm his mind is. Soon, while running and looking around, he discovered a way to escape. That thing seems to be feline feces. That's a big piece, it means that his size is definitely not small. And there are slight footprints on the ground. You can't be wrong. There is definitely a large animal like this big black bear in this direction. Li Kuizhang's thoughts flashed, and then his steps suddenly turned sharply and ran in the direction he discovered. Although he is giving it to him now entering the tiger's mouth, but this is the best way under the current circumstances. According to the instinct of wild beasts, when 2 fierce beasts meet, they will be cautious in their actions and dare not act rashly because they are alert to each other. In this way, I might be able to take advantage of the opportunity of the 2 beasts confronting each other and escape from danger. At present, this is his only chance to survive. However, in less than a few seconds, Li Kuizhang's actions suddenly changed in the dense jungle ahead of him. Ow! Only a very miserable scream of wild beasts suddenly rang throughout the forest. The huge roar directly shocked Li Kuizhang to cover his ears. Damn it! What happened again? He looked up hard, but because of the obstruction of the trees, he could not see the situation ahead. But judging from the size of the sound, it should not be much far from the place where the mutation occurred. Because of this scream, the black bear chasing behind him also stopped suddenly. Li Kuizhang's eyes flashed with light when he noticed this scene, and he made a decision in an instant, and took a step and continued to run forward. No matter what danger is ahead, the threat behind him is real. Bet if you should, and you can't hesitate. Seeing Li Kuizhang running forward directly, and his screams disappeared. The black bear with no IQ was once again attracted by the prey in front of him and began to pursue. Shush bang 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 bang. The rhythmic footsteps rang out in the jungle. After running for another 2 or 3 minutes, a bright sunlight suddenly shone down from the gaps in the bushes. Seeing this, Li Kuijang ignored the rest and jumped directly and crawled out of the cave in the bush. Then his eyes suddenly became clear. After crossing the bushes, there was a huge sunny clearing, completely different from the inside of the gloomy forest. What shocked Li Kuijang was that there was a black-haired boy with his upper body naked in this open space. In front of the black-haired boy, there was a huge saber-toothed tiger whose body had been twisted and obviously had died and could not die anymore. Someone. When the black-haired boy saw Li Kuijang, he immediately looked surprised. But before Li Kuijang could communicate with him, the black bear who had been chasing him had already knocked down the trees and ran out of the dense forest. Not good. Li Kuijang was shocked, but he still shouted subconsciously. Be careful. Run. At the same time, his footsteps have already. Although a trace of outrageous thought flashed through his mind when he saw the death saber-toothed tiger, as an ordinary normal human, his instinct still made him think about continuing to escape. But at this moment, a scene that shocked him happened. After seeing the black bear, the black-haired boy not only did not show any timid expression, but his eyes lit up, and he opened his mouth and drooled directly. Today's food is too rich. Then, the boy left a sentence that Li Kuijang didn't understand, and jumped up and came to the same height as the black bear's head. Then the boy suddenly stretched his arms and shouted to the black bear. Rubber pistol. Whoosh. Bump. Boom. A series of scenes that shocked Li Kuijang for 100 years appeared in front of him. The boy's arms suddenly stretched backward like an elastic rope, and then with the help of the rebound force, he directly knocked his clenched fist towards the black bear's head. The huge body, which seemed to Li Kuijang, was hit back dozens of meters away under the boy's fist. A large area of trees were overwhelmed along the way. The whole forest became a mess in an instant. Done. With a light bang, the boy's arm turned back to its original state again, then fell from the air, just in front of Li Kuijang. He held the straw hat on his head with his other hand, and then smiled at Li Kuijang with a D-shaped smile. Hee, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, thank you for the lunch you brought me. Lunch. Li Kuijang's heart was shaken again because of Luffy's words. But thinking that this was already a world of things that he was not familiar with, he quickly adjusted his mindset and reached out to hold it with Luffy. No, I want to thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have turned into this big black bear's lunch. Luffy smiled silly, but he didn't care about these things either. His eyes turned to patrol back and forth between the black bear and the saber-toothed tiger. Happiness comes too suddenly, which one should I eat? Oh, by the way, Li Kuijang, do you want to have lunch with me? Luffy invited Li Kuijang. Li Kuijang immediately nodded and replied, it's a great honor. Then, he saw Luffy stretching out his arm again and rolling it directly towards the trees in this section. After a few rounds and turns, a simple barbecue grill was completed. I saw Luffy escaped from a knife and was about to walk towards the saber-toothed tiger. And at this moment, Li Kuijang suddenly spoke. Wait a minute, brother Luffy. Luffy turned around. Li Kuijang continued, judging from your appearance, you probably don't know how to cook, right? Quote. If you don't dislike it, why don't you let me make a game meal for you? You may be with me to help me get the lost adventure bag back. As a professional explorer, Li Kuijang actually brought a pack of adventure equipment when entering the dusk space. This also includes some professional picnic equipment and seasonings. However, in the pursuit just now, in order to run faster, he directly discarded his adventure bag. Fortunately, the black bear's actions were too violent, and the destruction along the way was marked, so it was not difficult to retrieve. It's just that Luffy may need to be his bodyguard for a little. After all, he is alone, so he doesn't want to return to the dangerous forest alone. This is not a question of whether you are brave or not, but a question of whether you have a brain or not. Although the saying that if you don't commit suicide, you won't die. Although it does not apply to an explorer, they really have to keep this saying in mind if they want to live for a long time. You can still cook. Sure enough, after hearing Li Kuijang's words, Luffy instantly widened his eyes and looked at him with surprise. Seeing Luffy's expression, Li Kuijang breathed a sigh of relief. Very good, at least it seems that his S-level skills can still be performed normally. As an existence who dares to fight against God with his life, Li Kuijang has always been very lucky. When he was drawing rewards for a novice gift package, his good luck from childhood gave him supreme help, allowing him to draw an S-level skill, a guide manual. This skill allows Li Kuijang to designate a person, then check the person's favorability for him, and also provides a way to increase his favorability. It can be seen that if it is in a daily world, he can completely use this skill to achieve the dream of a man with 3 wives and 4 concubines. But he had been tired of playing with women and other things when he was on Earth. With her strong figure, handsome face and charming life experience, Li Kuijang will never lack the company of a woman wherever she goes. He now seems to want. It is a powerful force like Luffy just showed. It is to perfectly complete every space task, achieve higher achievements, and see more beautiful scenery. So without hesitation, he chose Luffy the first goal of the strategy manual. Next, he either guided Luffy's favorability to 100%, or Luffy died, or completed all the newcomer missions and left the world. Otherwise, he will not be able to make changes to the person bound to the strategy manual. But it doesn't matter. This black-haired boy Luffy is obviously a thigh in this world. With the existence of the strategy manual, he can definitely hold this thigh tightly. The request to cook just now is actually the prompt from the guide manual to Li Kuijang. A few hours later, the faint smoke of cooking fires floated in the dense forest with a strong aroma of oil. I saw Luffy with a wooden stick in his left hand, a large piece of meat chop inserted, and a huge leg bone exuding fragrance in his right hand, starting work left and right, so happy. Li Kuijang, who had retrieved his adventure equipment, was so busy that he was not touching the ground. Just as he was just retrieving his adventure equipment, he had already seen the requirements of the second ring of the newcomer mission. Select one force to join. After confirming the mission information, he began to inquire about the news about the world from Luffy. With the skills of strategy manual in hand, and Luffy's personality is already careless, he successfully learned some basic information about this world without much effort. And he also learned from Luffy that the other parties dream of becoming one piece. Because he had already changed the world, Li Kuijang did not use the rules of the previous world to look at things, nor did he express any opinions on Luffy's dream. On the contrary, after learning that Luffy was going to sea to become a pirate 3 days later, what he now thought about was how to go out to sea with Luffy and complete the second ring of the newcomer mission. Another point after. Luffy finally had enough wine and ate a saber-toothed tiger and a black bear under Li Kuijang's surprised gaze. Looking at Luffy, who had eaten nearly 10 times the size but was only a circle bigger than his belly, Li Kuijang felt that the education and science of his faith had completely collapsed. But he didn't worry about this matter for too long. Seeing that Luffy had eaten almost the same food, and the favorability displayed in the strategy manual also soared from 65 to 82 at the beginning, Li Kuijang thought about it for a moment and asked Luffy. "That Luffy, can I go out to sea with you in 3 days and be a pirate?" Chapter 330 The Three-Person Route. 3 days later. A small sailboat successfully sailed at the port of Windmill Town. Compared to the single-person boat that Luffy had started in the original work, this time he could be said to have a shotgun replacement. Even without the Mary, this sailing ship was enough to squeeze into a great route. All of this depends on Li Kuijang's efforts in the past 3 days. Wow, ha 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 ha, I am worthy of being my first partner. On the small sailboat, Luffy looked at his own ship, and the excitement on his face was beyond words. He laughed and patted Li Kuijang's shoulder, making the Earth's time traveler grin. But it's no wonder Luffy was so happy. Hoi could have imagined that Li Kuijang could use the animal bones he had left over the years to slightly modify and package them. In the name of health products, he sold millions of Baileys in the capital of the Goya Kingdom, thus allowing them to. Although I bought this sailboat that was not very luxurious, it was enough to carry their dreams of sailing. On the other hand, seeing Luffy so happy, Li Kuijang also rubbed his painful shoulders while saying helplessly, I really didn't expect that you who want to travel around the world would not even be prepared for a decent ship. Based on the information I got from the village chief, it is impossible for our ship to go long-term on the Great Route. So during this period, we must drill more bailies, at least hundreds of millions of dollars to take the lead in order to take risks on the Great Route. In the next action, you must obey my command, otherwise you will not make money and your dream will die. In order to control this carefree captain who doesn't care about anything, Li Kuijang also threatened Luffy directly regardless of the risk of lowering his favorability. As he successfully chose the identity of pirates and became the first member of the Straw Hat Pirates, his third ring missions also followed. But after seeing the content of the task, Li Kuijang instantly became overwhelmed. Let him learn a skill that can be recognized by the system. He had asked Luffy about fighting practice before, but after hearing Luffy's practice method, he instantly gave up the possibility of learning skills from Luffy. No way. That's really too hard. Even if he is a person who loves adventure and is not afraid of danger, he is frightened to resist after hearing some inhuman practices such as falling from a cliff and escaping in the jungle of wild beasts. He was very sure that his body was still the same as the earth, and there was no change. Being able to be chased by the big black bear for dozens of minutes without dying is the limit of his physical fitness. Even if he cultivates his body to the extreme, he cannot be compared with humans in this world. So, he only has a few choices to go now. First, borrow resources from this task space to gain the possibility of learning skills. Just like after he and Luffy ate the tiger meat and black bear meat together, he obviously felt a fever in his body, and his muscles seemed to become tense. Obviously, the beasts in this world are not only more fierce than the earth, but also have more nutritional value. The human beings in this world can be so strong, perhaps it is inseparable from these ferocious beasts. As long as he keeps eating and exercise, he can barely meet the standards of his physical strength, and then learn some combat skills with Luffy, he may be able to gain system recognition. But it took a long time, and he didn't know how long it would take to achieve his goal. Fortunately, the task in the dusk space does not seem to set a time limit. Even if the task is completed, players will still leave some time to harvest resources. It seems that the dusk space is supporting capable guys to become stronger quickly. This road is currently considered the guaranteed route set by Li Kuijang for himself. In addition to relying on the food of this world to strengthen itself, Li Kuijang also prepared another fast lane for himself. According to the information he received after a long night chat with the old village chief, like the devil fruit that Luffy ate that can make people have special abilities, it seems that it is not an overly precious thing in this world. Often, at some large auctions, you may see the auction of devil fruits. However, the price of each devil fruit is more than 100 million baileys, and the general transaction price is between 300 million baileys, which is difficult for ordinary people to obtain. This price is obviously enough to make many people retreat. But for Li Kuijang, who earned millions of baileys in just a few days and even held Luffy's thighs, it seems that it is not an incomplete difficulty. He planned to go to sea with Luffy while looking for news about the devil fruits to see if he could rely on the power of the fruits to allow himself to directly pass the mission of the third ring. As for the last choice. In fact, even after entering the mission space, their players still have the opportunity to communicate with the Dusk Lord God and even buy things in the Dusk Store. It's just that they need to complete some so-called side missions, and only after they get points after the newcomer mission can they trade in the Dusk Store. In this Dusk Store, there are countless kinds of exercises. The powerful ones have the method of immortals that can directly ascend to the immortals, and the weak ones also have ordinary mortal fighting skills. They have just entered the mission space for a while and have not yet had the opportunity to get involved in the side missions. Perhaps, after they have points later, they can buy some useful things in the omnipotent Dusk Mall to help them complete their tasks. With Luffy's thigh, Li Kuijang is not worried about the difficulty of the side mission. It would be better to say that the more difficult the side missions are, the more points he can get. He was also surprised. Who would have thought that just after he and Luffy suggested that they wanted to become his companion, Luffy's favorability in the guide manual soared to 93 points. Adding to the tips from the guide manual, it may not take long, you can gain Luffy's complete trust and favorable impression and start the second favorable binding goal. As long as he continues to increase the favorability of each strong man and win him over, he will be invincible in this world. Who would have thought that when he, who always explores alone on Earth, would gain the ability to hug his thighs at high speed after coming to the mission world? I hope the side mission can arrive soon, otherwise, the Pride of Heaven who has obtained S-level skills, will I be able to do it? In the private room of the small sailboat, Li Kuijang muttered in his heart while completing basic physical training. On the other side, Silabu village. Lin Lu, who had fully recovered from injuries, stood in the shooting range of Kia's backyard, with a serious look on her face. As a gust of wind blew, she suddenly pulled out the pirate world musket at the waist, and then bang 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 bang. Bang 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 bang. 10 shots in a row. When the pungent smoke dissipated, there was an instant burst of inspiring applause from both sides of the shooting range. Boy sex. A young man with a long nose wearing a checkered scarf walked over with a smile, showing a look of praise on his face. 10 shots hit the bullseye. 4 shots, 1 shot off the target, and the rest were all hit. Miss Lin Lu, your shooting skills are much better than I expected. The next thing you need to pay attention to is to continue shooting, plus the perception of the wind. Usopp carefully summarized Lin Lu's problem just now and corrected it. Although Lin Lu, who was standing aside, listened to Usopp's advice, she also felt a sense of dissatisfaction in her heart, and she complained hard in her heart. What? There is still a shot off the target. The gun level in this world is too trash, right? She was incompetent and furious. Due to the inconvenience of the bullet, the pistol that Lin Lu brought from the earth naturally could not be used for daily shooting skills training. So as the benefactor of Kia's family, she asked Mei Li for a musket and a large number of lead bullets that are common in the pirate world. As for why Usopp appeared at this shooting range to teach her. All of this has to start 2 days ago. After Chloe's identity was confirmed, the entire Kia family had a huge shock. Who would have thought that they would have lived with a pirate who killed, burned, robbed, and committed all kinds of evil for 3 years? And according to the plan that Miss Lin Lu overheard, the pirate seemed to continue to kill Miss Kia. No one can help but feel a biting cold inside when he hears this. Fortunately, before the demon started to act, he was dealt with by Miss Lin Lu, who was like a god. Because of the great life-saving kindness to the Kia family, and because of the Chloe incident, the Kia family caused panic. While Lin Lu was recovering from her injuries, Mei Li and Kia came to her together and asked her to be a bodyguard for Kia's family for a while and would pay her a generous reward. In fact, Lin Lu doesn't care about the annual salary of tens of millions of Bailey a year. But she originally planned to borrow the resources of the Kia family to help herself complete the task. After confirming that she would not affect her newcomer task after she was determined to be a bodyguard, she agreed directly. In the next few days, she would recover from the world while learning about the injury. If you don't know, you won't know, you will be shocked when you understand. With the rich book reserves of Kia's family, Lin Lu was attracted by the wonderful things in this world. The devil fruit that can make people have special abilities, the excrement is comparable to that of a huge marine creature on an island, and the empty island that can float in the air. Although these are scenes that ordinary people in the East China Sea cannot see in their entire lives and are like dreams, they are recorded one by one in the adventure books written by these ancestors. Originally, she was also very suspicious of whether the content in these books was made up by the author for sales. But through other news and books, it is all proven that these adventurers are real. And the content they wrote is real. In this way, while curious about the world, Linlu settled down at the Kia family and began to serve as a bodyguard captain, providing physical training to the bodyguards of the Kia family. What she was good at was fighting and intelligence collection, which was not difficult for her. The only problem is that a week has passed, and she has not yet thought about how to learn skills that can be recognized by the dusk space in this world. Until one day, Meili, who was supposed to deliver food at the time, had to deal with some things, and Chloe's identity was exposed, resulting in the trusted butler in the villa being insufficient. After seeing this, Linlu kindly pushed the dining cart to the restaurant. Kia's room. Because she was not a housekeeper, she didn't think too much and pushed open the door. Immediately, she unexpectedly saw Miss Kia opening the window and talking and laughing with a long-nosed boy. Linlu's sudden appearance obviously broke the happy atmosphere between the two. The long nose fell from the tree in fright. Linlu, who had no sense of belonging to the Kia family, certainly would not drive Usopp away like Chloe. After Usopp ran away, Linlu even took the initiative to joke with Kya. As a girl, he is already sensitive to topics in this regard, and he never ends gossip. After realizing that Kia also had a good impression of Usopp, Linlu, who was idle, patted her poor breasts directly and decided to help her employer find out about Usopp. As a spy, it is not too easy for Linlu to inquire about a little ghost in the village. In just half a day, she almost inquired about all the embarrassing things about Usopp from childhood to adulthood. In addition to the fact that his father was a pirate, he also learned in depth about the reason why Usopp lies every day. In general, he is a guy who is not very honest but has not very bad character. With Kia's appearance, if the two of them were together, Usopp would definitely turn into the ultimate licking dog in minutes and dedicate everything to Kia. After becoming a matchmaker, Linlu began to deliberately match the two of them. As a result, in an accident, she discovered that Usopp actually had excellent shooting talent. What's more special is that the other party just used a homemade slingshot, and the accuracy was much higher than that of her pistol. Although she is not an agent of gun civilization, her marksmanship is definitely not bad. After some inquiry, she confirmed that this was indeed a talent that only Usopp would have. Based on the idea of being bored and trying it casually, she began to learn how to shoot from Usopp, wanting to see if she could explode a skill on Usopp. Although slingshots and muskets are completely different things, they also have similarities. No matter whether she can complete the newcomer's mission, it will not be a loss if she can increase her own shooting ability. In this way, Linlu began her own learning journey. And this study took half a month. At the same time, at the port of Shuangyu village, a small fishing boat slowly docked over. A young man dressed in a slightly embarrassed manner skillfully parked the fishing boat and stepped off the fishing boat. Yi Fan picked up a chart in his hand and confirmed again. Yes, this should be the island where Frost Moon Gymnasium is located. Don't let me down after running around for so long. Yi Fan murmured lightly and walked into this not-so-developed small village. Chapter 331 The willows and flowers are bright. It seems that the quality of the first wave of candidates is quite high. On the Tiga outside the small world. Kyle observed the situation of the small world from the perspective of God, and showed a satisfied smile on his face. I have to say that the smart AI effect created by Bergapunk and others is really not very strong. The success rate of thousands of people he selected from billions of people was as high as 96% in the first round of the newcomer mission. In other words, among the thousands, only dozens of people failed and were eliminated. The remaining candidates actually passed the level set by the Dusk Lord AI. Since we are going to cultivate a real strong man, Kyle will certainly not leave the players with an unsolvable situation of death. Such as Yi Fan's sports expert skills, Linlu's portable pistol, Luffy who is practicing not far from Li Kuijang. Although each player was sent to different regions of the pirate world and experienced different crises, at the same time, Twilight AI has already designed a route that is enough to escape for them. The rest is that they can successfully overcome this first life and death barrier by seizing the opportunity or using their specialties. Obviously, the first step of the Twilight Lord was very perfect, so perfect that Kyle couldn't find any fault. Next, he just needs to step by step to make the dusk space dependent on the real world and continue to grow. Sooner or later, he will successfully break through the realm of the Domain Lord and become one of the few Domain Lords in the entire universe. The pirate world is just the first test for these players. The newcomer's 10-ring mission will inevitably continue to fight some unlucky eggs without enough strength, lack of adaptability, and bad luck. Once someone completes the newcomer's 10 rings mission, they will at least have the power at the planetary level, that is, the 7 warriors sea level. By that time, their adventure had just begun. As for those players who died in the mission, although it is a pity that their lives are about to end here. But after all, it is a far beyond ordinary existence. The Lord of Dusk will personally be responsible for the reincarnation path of these dead people. After they mature again, they will also become the focus of the Lord of Twilight. Once time is ripe, they will be captured back to the dusk space again and start a new round of adventure. No waste of any resources. After they can practice to the stellar level in the dusk space, Kyle will use the ability of the system to match them with various precious and rare character cards. Yes. The power of the system can still be used even in Kyle's small world. This may become Kyle's biggest motivation for breaking through the domain main level. Even if there are insufficient resources in the small world and the player's understanding and qualifications, he can fully utilize the power of character cards to give players the opportunity to continue to become stronger. The reason why he chose the star level is because Kyle does not intend to act carelessly for these players with his own strength. Every guy who can break through the star level will match him with a character card of at least S level. And by that time, their power system and combat style have also been almost fixed, so that Kyle can choose the subsequent power for him. After having the power of the character card, at least before the cosmic level, Kyle doesn't have to worry that players will encounter bottlenecks. The only difficulty is, the improvement of cosmic strength is even a long journey for Kyle, let alone a character in the small world. According to the ideas of the small world constructor, each small world also has different ways of promoting the domain master level. However, no matter which way to promote the domain master level, the resources and difficulties required are the same. In order to still have the power that is not weaker than humans after becoming the Lord of the Realm, Kyle set a way for his small world to be promoted to the domain master. There is no way. Whether it is a physical breakthrough, an energy barrier, or creating your own small world in your body like Kyle. According to the conscientiousness of Kyle and the Dusk Lord AI, they have prepared countless promotion methods for players in the small world for them to choose from. The advantage of this is that Kyle's small world will not have obvious weaknesses, lay a solid foundation for the world, and will not be easily broken by other domain masters with special abilities. The disadvantage is, this approach is really too resource-consuming. All the resources in the small world are condensed by Kyle through his will. In other words, in order to build his small world into an invincible posture, Kyle needs endless willpower. So in the final analysis, Kyle's focus should be on the conquest of the main world. It's almost done. If your wish is still insufficient after you completely conquer the Dusk Star domain, it's time to start a war on several surrounding star domains. They should have some insights when I became the domain lord. I don't know if the neighbors around are ready. There was a deep light of inspiration in Kyle's dark eyes, as if he had seen through the long river of time and saw the distant future. He is not a pedantic person. In order to make himself stronger, he will launch a war to the outside world without hesitation. Just like he would kill Monty, who had no intersection with him without hesitation. Perhaps one day in the distant future, Kyle's greed will become the biggest disaster in this starry sky. On the other side, in Kyle's small world. In the East China Sea, in the Frost Moon Gym in the suburbs of Frost Moon Village. Yi Fan, who had already put on a kendo uniform, sat upright, listening carefully to his newly recognized master Shuangyu Kishiro, explaining to him the basic knowledge about kendo. As an ordinary high school student with no other specialties except for his miserable life, Yi Fan was able to be selected by the Lord of Twilight and successfully pass the first round of the newcomer mission. He naturally has his own uniqueness. At this time, nearly a month has passed since he completed the second ring of the newcomer mission. During this period, except for a little half of Yi Fan driving a sailboat on the sea, he also used his wisdom to collect as much information about the world as possible. As an ordinary high school student, although Yi Fan does not have Lin Lu's powerful intelligence collection ability, nor does Li Kuizhang's vision of judging the situation. Even his novice welfare skills are just a D-level sports expert. But this skill that is so ordinary that it is almost just a mortal level has enabled him to find the possibility of completing his third ring mission. After visiting and inquiring, Yi Fan discovered that this world seemed to have various powers. These forces may distinguish professions, such as snipers, swordsmen, etc. But it is not as obvious as the division. A swordsman can take out a spear and fight the enemy at any time, and a sniper can also have a good swordsmanship and self-defense. In addition, the most common way of fighting in the world is unorganized hand-to-hand combat, relying entirely on the skills and power produced by individuals to defeat one's own enemies. It can be said that this undoubtedly increases the difficulty for Yi Fan to learn skills. But at the same time, it also gave him hope to complete the task. As a sports expert, Yi Fan is easy to use in shooting or sword. As long as he can be classified as a sports category, including fighting skills, he has now. This is also the foundation he has been able to remain intact along the way. The city in the pirate world is not as calm as it seems. There are countless gangsters, hooligans and thieves. When Yi Fan inquired about the news, he would naturally deal with such existences often. If his skills hadn't given him some fighting skills to fight against ordinary people, he might have long since no one could have explained it to him. After learning that there are two professions in this world, sniper and swordsman, Yi Fan puts his hope of completing the mission above these two professions. However, the inheritance of snipers that can be found in the world is almost all in the Navy. Yi Fan, who has chosen the identity of pirate hunter and is not sensitive to the Navy, certainly will not give himself eye drops when he has a choice. So he finally put his hope of completing the mission in the identity of a swordsman. After several twists and turns, after meeting a green algae-headed swordsman with 3 long swords on his waist, Yi Fan found out the name of Frostleaf Gymnasium. Then he began to collect information about the Frost Moon Gymnasium and finally came here. Although the sword path is parasitic on the body, what is more important is the mind's perception of the sword path. Relying on brute force, you may be able to defeat the enemy, but you can never defeat the blade in the enemy's hands. And a powerful swordsman can easily cut off steel by feeling the breath of all things. In the Kendo Hall, Koshiro put on a serious look and explained to the group of young guys present, who were the oldest of 12 years old. But his courses are obviously not very attractive. In the entire gym, except for Yi Fan who had just arrived, who was still listening attentively, the other kendo apprentices were already drifting and drowsy. No way. Every time a new apprentice comes to the gym, Master Koshiro will repeat this incomprehensible sentence. After listening for so long, they even knew what Master Kishiro said next. What he said was, how could they not be sleepy? Fortunately, what made Koshiro happy was, the newly accepted apprentice seemed to be very interested in what he said. Not only did he listen carefully, he even took out a small notebook and began to copy his words. As a high school student, Yi Fan may lack anything else, but in class, he is definitely far beyond everyone present. After all, this is something I have done for a lifetime. More importantly, Koshiro's words gave him hope to complete the task. Swordsmanship that can cut off steel. If you can learn it, you should be able to complete the third ring mission. Yi Fan copied Zhang Xiro's words while thinking in his heart. Seeing Yi Fan so seriously, even Zhang Xiro, who was giving a lecture, could not help but feel a drop of cold sweat on his forehead, and felt extremely stressed. Generally speaking, those who come to their temple to study are children from several nearby villages. Because the Frost Moon Gymnasium is not expensive, parents also hope that their children can have a skill, so they are sent to study, but it does not necessarily mean that their children have any breakthroughs in the kendo path. Therefore, Koshiro's teaching requirements have never been too high. In addition to basic training, it depends entirely on the children's personal will. Generally speaking, it is rare to see children over 10 years old come to study here. But after seeing Yi Fan's condition, Koshiro suddenly realized that this young man was not learning kendo with the mentality of participating in the interest class. He may really want to gain something in the kendo path. Thinking of this, Koshiro's eyes couldn't help but become more serious. No teacher will reject a student who is willing to study. His kendo level may not be too high, but he is definitely second to none in teaching basic kendo. It just so happened that Zoro was lost and went to pursue his dream. Next, let him polish the young man in front of him to see if he was a piece of uncensored jade or an ordinary turn of his head. Koshiro thought to himself. The sword path that belongs to Yi Fan will officially begin from this moment. At the same time, Syllabu village. Bang 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 bang. 10 gunshots were fired one after another. Lin Lu, who was graceful, waited for the smoke of the musket to completely dissipate, and turned sharply and quickly hid from behind one haystack and hid behind another haystack. Then he loaded ammunition for the musket at an extremely fast speed, and then shot another rapid shot at several other targets in the distance. After repeated several times, Lin Lu stopped and shook the hot musket of the gun chamber to cool it down quickly. In those short minutes just now, she actually used her own posture to exert a firepower suppression. Even Usopp, who was in charge of guiding Lin Lu, was frightened by her momentum. Lin Lu suddenly turned around and asked Usopp. How about it, Mr. Usopp? Am I off target this time? No. Usopp, who was a little scared of Lin Lu's momentum, suddenly came back to his senses and then replied stammeringly. Who would have thought that Lin Lu, who was still in sniping training a few days ago, could burst out with such an amazing momentum after changing directions? After many trainings and his shooting ability has not improved much, Lin Lu decisively gave up the sniper skills he originally planned to learn. After all, her previous instructor had already trained him to the limit of his body. Even if Usopp, a shooting genius, was present, it could only enrich her experience in environmental handling. But it is really hard to break through the limits of the body and obtain non-existent sniper talent. In the end, Lin Lu realized the reality and gave up the idea of learning sniping skills. However, with the presence of Usopp, a shooting genius, she chose to combine shooting with her own advantages and prepare to train a combat method that can be applied to this world. No matter whether she can develop skills or not, at least she must have a certain combat power. In this way, you can complete some side missions through combat in the future, and then use points to purchase mall props to complete newcomer missions. But what Lin Lu didn't expect was open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to player Lin Lu for successfully learning the skills, gunfighting technique through his unremitting efforts. Close black lens bracket. The current skill level is E, rewards are accumulated, and they will be distributed uniformly after completing the newcomer's task. Close black lens bracket. Chapter 332 Attack. Skills have been mastered. Listening to the electronic sound of the main god of the evening that suddenly sounded in his mind, Lin Lu's expression instantly became very exciting. Surprise, shock, confusion, excitement. Unexpectedly, the sniper technique she had been practicing for a long time did not make any progress. Instead, she practiced as she wanted with guns in this world and was actually recognized by the system. Although there is only one E level evaluation, this is already one level higher than the lowest level F level. The E level skill shouldn't disappoint me, right? Lin Lu thought and immediately clicked on his information panel and began to check out new skills. Based on the information she found out from the Dusk Lord before entering the mission space. Any skill, even if it is just a F-level skill, as long as it can be written into the character panel, it will receive the blessing of the Dusk space and gain certain special abilities. But if you want the skills to appear in the panel, you must meet several conditions. 1. The power comes from the mission space. 2. The inheritance of the roles in the mission space. 3. The moves that players understand according to the laws of the mission space. Obviously, Lin Lu's gun-fighting technique fits the third condition and thus obtains his own skills. Open black lens bracket gunfighting technique close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket level, close black lens bracket. Effect. Use firearms to complete gorgeous combat moves, which can quickly load bullets during the battle, increase the fire speed of the gun, and greatly improve the agility when the gun has no bullets. Close black lens bracket. The moment he obtained the skill, Lin Lu instantly became blessed to his heart. His fingers seemed to become more flexible, and his limbs seemed to have some kind of power injected into them. When she picked up the inferior version of the Pirate World musket again, an inexplicable sense arose. It's like she was born to know how to play the musket elegantly. Is this the skill in the dusk space? Just like before you get the palm fairy art, you can instantly integrate it, it's really fun. Lin Lu showed her excited eyes, eager to try. However, there were no decent enemies nearby, so naturally she did not give her the chance to test her skills. After getting familiar with the skills, Lin Lu certainly did not forget the more important things. That is her fourth ring newcomer mission. Thoughts flashed, Lin Lu looked directly at the task panel again. As expected, her newcomer mission has entered the fourth ring. Newcomer mission fourth ring, the beginning of the legend. Close black lens bracket. Task content. Kill or arrest a pirate with a bounty of more than 500 W Bailey, and let more people know your name. Pirate Hunter Limited. Close black lens bracket. The beginning of the legend. Looking at the name of the mission on the mission panel, Lin Lu's eyes suddenly lit up and shone. What an arrogant name, but I like it. It has been so long since I came to this world, and Lin Lu has long known about some information about this world. With the collection of books by Kia's family, she now even knows this world better than many indigenous people in the pirate world. After reading the instructions of this task, Lin Lu quickly realized what the essence of this task was. Do you want to increase your popularity in this world through a battle? And confirm your identity as a pirate hunter? I seem to have guessed what the next task will be. It seems that my mission in this world is to become a powerful pirate hunter. But this goal of completing the task is a bit troublesome. Although I have read a lot of books and newspapers, this world is unfamiliar to Lin Lu after all. It is somewhat dangerous to go out to sea to find pirates. In addition, the sea area she lives in is the East China Sea, which is the weakest known as the East China Sea. Pirates with a bounty of more than 500,000 yuan are already rare species, and they are not so easy to find. However, just as Lin Lu was puzzled, a voice suddenly came from a distance. Not good. No good. Miss Lin Lu. Melly, who had a sheep-headed head, ran up the hillside with panting breath. Before he could breathe well, he handed the telegram he had just received to Lin Lu. What's wrong? Lin Lu received the telegram curiously, and Usopp, who was beside him, hurried over. Immediately, the faces of the two changed instantly. I saw that it was written above. After patrolling the navy, it was found that the remnants of the Black Cat pirates were sailing towards the direction of Shirobu village. If it was less than 3 days, it would arrive at Shirobu village. Close black lens bracket. At this time, Mei Li, who had already breathed evenly, raised her head and said nervously. This is an emergency information sent by a major in the Navy of the Kia Chamber of Commerce. Didn't the Navy come to collect Chloe's body before? I left contact information with them at that time. The Navy said that their ship was attacked by the remnants of the Black Cat pirates a few days ago, and they snatched Chloe's body. If that colonel had some strength, they would have almost wiped out the Black Cat pirates. In the hands. Quote. The colonel was also seriously injured and unconscious for 2 days. Now that he woke up, he immediately sent us this emergency telegram. It is said that the Black Cat pirates called out to the Navy at that time to slaughter Shirobu village and avenge their captain. The remnant party of the Black Cat pirates. Hearing Melly's words, Usopp's face turned pale in an instant, and his steps trembled. Although in reality, Usopp was already a star-level powerful man on Tiga at this time, in the mission space, he should be vulgar, but he would still be so vulgar. The character in the mission space perfectly replicates Usopp's character in reality. Then let the Navy send someone to deal with these pirates? Usopp asked in fear. But Melly shook her head and said, no, it will take at least 5 days to get from the naval base to our place. When they arrive here, the Black Cat pirates may have left long ago. What to do? What to do? The pirates are really coming. Let's run away quickly. Escape. Where can I escape? Looking at Usopp's incredible appearance, Linlu immediately glanced at him. He is obviously a guy with good sniper talent, but he is so brave. With Usopp's talent, if he is brave and uses a sniper rifle, he might have become an excellent pirate hunter. The vast sea, hundreds of meters apart, hit a single blow. In this sea, how many people will be his opponents? Linlu has a deep understanding of Usopp's talent. The place where she trains is not without geniuses in sniping, but those geniuses she remembers are simply not worth mentioning in front of Usopp. Melly, can you get a firearm with a longer range before the Black Cat pirates attacks? At this moment, Linlu suddenly asked. Ah. Mei Li, who was also panicked, heard this, and although she was a little confused, she nodded and said, it should be possible. I know there is a gun enthusiast in the nearby islands. He has a lot of excellent guns there, and I guess there should be sniper rifles. Very good. After hearing Mei Li's answer, Linlu's eyes lit up suddenly. Then she took out the momentum of her elder sister's head and said directly. Now you don't want to do anything, just get a few sniper rifles. In addition, the more ammunition, the better. The pirate world is a planet with very unbalanced resource distribution. Some people here live in the farming era, while others have already entered the future technology. Things like guns, now on the Donghai market, including the Navy, use muskets with weak lethality of round lead bullets. But in some places, super powerful sniper firearms with a range of 1 or 2 kilometers have long been able to be manufactured. Linlu, who has read a lot of books during this period, has long known about the abnormal technological distribution in the pirate world. She believed that it was a gun that could make Melly called excellent, which would definitely bring her surprise. After seeing Mei Li leave, Linlu's eyes focused directly on Usopp, who had already begun to pace back and forth, trembling all over. Then, she made a decision to deceive her master and destroy her ancestors, grabbed her shooting teacher Usopp's nose, and then slapped her mouth hard on Usopp's face. Calm down, Mr. Usopp. Ah. Usopp, who was suffocated, was stunned for a moment, and then, under the stimulation of the pain, his brain quickly calmed down. Miss Linlu. He subconsciously wanted to retreat and take out his long nose, but was grabbed by Linlu again. Immediately, the agent girl's eyes shining, and she said to Usopp. Master Usopp, it's time to prove that our time has come. After practicing for so long, the opportunity to become famous is now in front of us. You must not retreat at this time. Yang is famous. Usopp's eyes were filled with incomprehension, but his apprentice seemed to have been injected with chicken blood and became excited. Think about it. If we solve the famous evil Black Cat pirates in the East China Sea as soon as we debuted, then the entire East China Sea will praise our name. You and I will become the most famous pirate hunters in the East China Sea. All the monsters, 3 swords, will bring our shoes. This is definitely a good opportunity for us to fire the first shot. Wait. Usopp looked embarrassed and quickly raised his hands. Miss Linlu, I think you are a little too excited. What's your debut? It's so famous, there are some. Can't it be that what Master Usopp and Miss Kia said are all lies? Didn't you tell your brave sea warrior yourself? Why are you looking very scared now that the pirate is coming now? Linlu, who had already grasped Usopp's mind, changed into a skeptical look, and seemed to be saying, Boy, I am very disappointed in you. I'm afraid. How could it be? Usopp, who was poked into a weak spot, quickly fixed his body. Although his forehead was still sweating wildly, his mouth retorted very hard. I'm just worried that the pirates will cause harm to everyone if they break into the village. It doesn't matter. As if I had expected Usopp to answer, Linlu let go of Usopp's nose directly, then patted him on the shoulder hard, showing a murderous smile on his face. Immediately, she grinned softly and said, as long as we don't let the pirates land on the island, there will be no villagers who will be hurt. You said, right. Ah. Usopp looked at his increasingly unfamiliar apprentice in shock, feeling a hint of hair in his heart. At the same time, in the sea not far from Silab village, a pirate group with black cat flag flying was crossing the sea in full battle and rushing towards Silabu village. There was no error in the Navy's intelligence. It's just that the situation is slightly inconsistent with what the Navy has obtained. At this time, a group of pirates formed a large circle on the Black Cat pirate ship, focusing on the scenes and staring at the middle of the crowd. Zhang Gao, the deputy captain of the Black Cat pirates who has excellent hypnosis, looked helpless at this moment. Buzz, Sam, Captain Clow is dead, so let him rest in peace and stop disturbing his body. Opposite Zhang Gao, two fat and thin, with sharp cone thorns on their fingers, and the pirate, who looked like a cat's claw, said with a ferocious expression. Get up, praised Deputy Captain Gao. This guy agreed to bring us wealth and glory, and then disappeared for 3 years, which made us suffer the attention of our colleagues in these 3 years. Now he died silently. How can we swallow this breath? Just relying on the things he bullied and insulted us before, we can't let his soul rest in peace. Oh, why bother you? Zhang Gao sighed helplessly. Although Clo did not have a good temper towards them, he was the former captain after all. Zhang Gao, as the deputy captain, did not want such an unpleasant thing to happen in the Black Cat Pirates. The captain's rule was damaged, and his prestige, as the deputy captain, would definitely decline. But the two brothers Sam and Bougie were determined. Suddenly, Bougie flashed, approached Zhang Gao, and then said in a low voice. Zhagao, there is no business for you here. As long as you let us get angry today, we brothers will support you in inheriting the Black Cat Pirates. When we avenge the captain and say it in the face of our peers, you can even change the Black Cat Pirates to the Zhangao Pirates, and we have absolutely no objection. What do you think? Sam and Bougie continued to light up the cat's paws on their hands. In fact, they didn't really want to do anything to Clo's body. However, with Clo's death, the entire Black Cat Pirates are now in panic. Fortunately, he disappeared for 3 years before, so there was no huge change in the pirates. And now they are doing this, in fact, to further weaken Clo's influence on the Black Cat Pirates, so that this pirates will still exist. After all, this pirate group is the foundation of their ability to gallop across the East China Sea. Although Zhang Gao could not completely guess the two of them, he could understand a little bit. Now that he heard the two of them say this, his eyes lit up. Oh, I didn't expect you to have such a deep hatred for Clo. But that's right, he did do a lot of bad things to us back then. Forget it, the dead are dead, and we must continue to live. Just let yours. Chapter 333 Ambush. Where there are people, there is a world of martial arts. Even a small group like the Black Cat Pirates that cannot be named in the world, the complexity of the people in it is also impressive. However, no matter what the Black Cat thinks, it is inevitable that they will attack Shirobu village. Of course, the direction of all this is not a coincidence. Because there are a pair of invisible big hands that are controlling the direction of everything in this world. As a mission space, the pirate world certainly cannot evolve like a natural world. Under the power of the Lord of Dusk, all directions are set based on the plan to allow players to grow as soon as possible. When growing up, there will naturally be no avoidance of some wars, conflicts, and even emotional entanglements. Lin Lu. As a player ranked among the top 10 players who complete the third ring of the newcomer mission, he naturally received more attention from the Lord of Dusk. This sudden Black Cat Pirates is her test. After passing, her hidden score will be greatly increased, and the Lord of Dusk will increase her authority to observe and cultivate her. But all of this is a level that they cannot reach for players in the small world. Is it finally started? Kyle, who once again conquered a planet, returned to the captain's room of the Tiga. Although Kyle, who has become the domain master, has the ability and privilege to use the Star Alliance space wormhole, because he wants to complete similar submission work, his main means of transportation is still to ride the Tiga. Mainly. Fortunately, with the continuous upgrading of Tiga, its navigation speed has become faster and faster. In the past, it took half a year or several months to travel between stars, but now it may only take 1 week. So sometimes, if they are in a prosperous galaxy, they can almost perform multi-line operations. Use Tiga. The super high speed of the zodiac signs sends other Dusk members to different planets, preparing the creatures on the planet in advance and waiting for Kyle to arrive. This operation method undoubtedly saved Kyle's conquest movement a lot of time. Now they have only taken half a month to process a small galaxy with 3 intelligent planets. It only takes about 20 years to Kyle to completely conquer the Dusk star field he commands. By that time, he will have a steady stream of willpower to cultivate his own small world. Kyle, who sat back in the cabin, took the juice handed over by Hankook with one hand, and habitually stroked Perona's slender waist with the other hand, hugging the ghost girl who was already at cosmic level. Entering your arms. Behind him is Robin's comfortable relaxing massage. There are countless maids in the entire captain's palace, busy with their own work. Every one, on their planet, can be called a beautiful girl of the stunning fragrance level. Although some of them are hundreds or thousands of years old. Kyle's life is happier than that of a god. When he turned his attention back to the small world, the pirate invasion war in Silabu village had officially begun. From Kyle's god's perspective, you can see that the surrounding area is full of cliffs, and there are only 2 small island ports on both sides of the island, north and south, where several bodyguards of the Kia family are hidden. After learning that pirates were about to invade the island, the Kia family directly sent all their manpower and material resources, and under the arrangement of Lin Lu and Usopp, they arranged the overly shen traps to the ports on both sides. The terrain of the island of Silabu village is extremely special. The entire island stands on the sea like a mountain. The more you walk towards the center, the higher the altitude it is. Even the port is like a mountaineering path. If you want to enter the village, you must climb over an inclined mountain path. The villa of Kia's family is the garden created on the hill at the highest point of Shirobu village. It is clean and elegant, and will not be afraid of ordinary small pirates. Perhaps this is also the main reason why Kia's parents settled down here back then. Today, the unique terrain advantage of Xilubu village has also become the fundamental reason why Lin Lu dares to fight against the pirates. Small World, Mission Space, West Rob Village, North Port. Lin Lu, holding a telephone bug, lurked in the bushes, constantly looking towards the distant sea with the monocular lens in her hand. But after waiting for a long time, the figure of the ship she was looking forward to still showed no sign of it. No way. My first action was so unlucky. After looking at the time and looking at the endless sea, Lin Lu couldn't help but mutter softly. But then, she immediately picked up a piece of chocolate from her pocket and put it in her mouth to chew it quickly to replenish her energy. After all, judging from the current situation, she is likely to have to carry out a long-distance race across the village in a while. After waiting for another hour, just when Lin Lu almost began to suspect that the information was wrong, a dull sound suddenly sounded in the phone bug in her arms. Blah blah blue tilde blah blah blue tilde. Here you come. Lin Lu's eyes flashed, and she immediately took out the somewhat deformed phone worm from her chest, and then quickly picked up the microphone. Hello. The phone worm's expression instantly became panicked from the beginning. Not good. Lin Lu. Pirates come from me. What to do? What to do? Usopp's fearful voice soon came from the phone worm's mouth. However, when Lin Lu heard this, she sighed in her heart, sure. Immediately she comforted her, what are you panic, Master Usopp? We are all ready. Didn't we all investigate the configuration of the Black Cat pirates? A hypnotist deputy captain, 2 Black Cat warriors with super fast movement speed and agile posture, the rest are all a group of ordinary sea of fish. Thief. Can you, a sea warrior, still be afraid of these little thieves? Lin Lu stimulated Usopp in words as always, and made him suffocate to calm down. At the same time, she quickly packed up the firearms on the ground, gave a look at the bodyguards around her, and quickly moved towards the port where Usopp was. While running, she did not forget to comfort Usopp. Anyway, everything will be done according to our plan. Once you find the opponent's deputy captain, Master Usopp will immediately snipe him. Be sure to kill with one blow. Speaking of this, Lin Lu suddenly stopped again and said with a slow breath. Master Usopp, you have to be clear that if you can't do this, the entire Sarab village and Miss Kia will be invaded by pirates. 2. Usopp's trembling voice came from the phone bug. Of course I can do it. Just give it to me, Mr. Usopp. Lin Lu smiled and said, that's right. This is my Master Usopp. After quitting the phone worm, Lin Lu subconsciously held her hand against her waist. In this battle, in addition to the gun that Melly borrowed from the gun collector, she also made herself most familiar with. The ball and pistol were brought on her body. Although there were only a dozen bullets left, it was enough for her to complete a battle. After learning about the information about the Black Cat pirates, Lin Lu had already targeted the pair of Black Cat brothers with powerful melee capabilities. Although the deputy captain Zhang Gao, who has a bounty of 900,000, is also very attractive. But according to the information, the guy was very cautious and had a magical hypnosis technique, so Lin Lu didn't dare to get close to him easily. In comparison, the Black Cat brothers who were just faster had a bounty of 1,400 W, which was obviously more Lin Lu. On the other side, Usopp, who had left the phone, was still trembling with his legs, but he still raised the sniper rifle in his hand tremblingly. Although it only took 2 days to reach his hands, Usopp had mastered the performance of this gun with his extraordinary shooting talent. And when there are enough bullets, he dare not say that he will hit every shot, but there will definitely be no fatal empty gun. In the sniper scope, the ships of the Black Cat pirates slowly entered the range of the sniper rifle. The faces of the pirates with ferocious faces and greedy smiles appeared in his sight. However, according to the plan assigned by Lin Lu for her, Usopp did not attack these ordinary pirates. He used the high-power mirror of the sniper rifle to move little by little, looking for targets in the crowd. Soon, he found a strange bearded man wearing love glasses and a top hat in the pirate group. I found you. Usopp murmured lightly, and the crosshairs of the sniper rifle began to slowly move with Zhang Gao's movement, without leaving his head for a moment. Although Usopp is sure, if he continues to shoot now, he will definitely be able to kill the pirate deputy captain immediately. But he didn't do that. Lin Lu once said to him, eliminate evil and eliminate the roots. Once he fires now and alerts the snake, the Black Cat pirates still on the sea may immediately turn the bow and then attack Silabu village in a more concealed manner. So Usopp was preparing to wait until the moment they landed on the island before taking action against them. By the way, it can be considered as waiting for Lin Lu and the others to come. Although he is Lin Lu's nominal master now, Usopp knew in his heart that Lin Lu could have killed Klo, a pirate with a bounty of 1,700,000. The difference in courage between them is not a little bit. As time passes slowly, the Black Cat pirates are getting closer and closer to the island where Silab village is located. Finally, half an hour after Usopp quit the phone, the pirate ship with the Black Cat pirate flag flying and the pirates laughing wildly docked on the low-lying coastline. Wow, ha 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 tilde hunting begins. A pirate holding a long sword couldn't wait to jump out of the boat, picked up the long sword and rushed forward. The other pirates followed closely and rushed off the ship in a swarm. However, just when they thought that the familiar burning, killing and plundering would happen next, an unexpected gunshot suddenly rang through the entire port, making all the pirates quiet in an instant. Bang! Plop! A dull voice sounded behind the pirates. Immediately afterwards, the two Black Cat brothers shouted nervously and frightenedly. Say good. Say good. All the pirates immediately turned around and suddenly saw the deputy captain Zhang Gao, who was supposed to be standing on the bar supervising battle, disappeared. Looking at it, there was a corpse lying on the ground in the gap in the ship bar. The trickle of blood soon flowed down from the ship as the ship swayed. The deputy captain is dead. A pirate who had come back to the taste said with his lips trembling. But at this moment, another gunshot sounded. A bullet accurately penetrated the head of the talking pirate and penetrated the abdomen of the second pirate. Not good. There is a sniper opposite. When the Black Cat brothers heard the second gunshot, they instantly woke up from their lost state. They quickly shouted in surprise, reminding the pirates below and quickly hid in the cabin. But it's too late. The escorts of the Kia family, hiding in the grass, suddenly poked their heads out, holding various exquisite guns, and thrust at the pirates below. Although the accuracy is not as high as Usopp, with the advantage of quantity, the pirates still instantly rolled and crawled to board the boat. In fact, there are only 5 firearms above the entire port. If we fight, these pirates will definitely be able to break through the gun line. But Zangao's sudden death instantly disrupted the pirates' minds and made them lose their masters and didn't know what to do. Seeing this, the Black Cat brothers in the cabin immediately realized something was wrong. But this is why they can only be pioneers but cannot be leaders. Because at this moment, they didn't know what to do, so they could only avoid snipers in the cabin while shouting at the pirates who were running away. Storm up. There are only a few people on the other side. You also have guns in your hands. Shoot them to death. However, no matter how they shouted, no pirate chose to listen to them. The angry Black Cat brother saw this. I had to decide to leave here temporarily and regain my momentum. But how could Lin Lu, who has received a good education since childhood, leave an enemy with a chance to escape? In fact, all education systems in the small world are determined based on Kyle's own views. In the future, Kyle may have to let the strong people in the small world help him invade other domain masters' small worlds, so he naturally needs to give these seeds enough combat emotional intelligence. He didn't want to see any bloody placing the enemy and letting the scene of being stabbed by the enemy later appear. Lin Lu, who was deeply influenced by this idea, had already set up enough ambush at the port. Seeing someone from the Black Cat pirates secretly pulling up the anchor, Usopp shouted directly to the surroundings. The pirate is going to run away. Let the catapult cart be released. Swish 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 swish. With Usopp's order, the bodyguards who were already ready immediately swung their swords and cut off the rope, activate the throwing device that could only be used once in the battle. In an instant, several wooden barrels flew up from the sky, crossed the port, and hit the deck of the Black Cat pirates. The wood exploded instantly, revealing a large piece of black liquid with a pungent smell. It will burn immediately when it encounters an open fire. Gasoline. Chapter 334 Side mission starts. With the strong support of the Kia family, the trap set up by Lin Lu can be said to be enough to achieve saturated bombing. Under Usopp's precise dispatch, all these gasoline bombs fell into it without exception. The blazing flames instantly ignited the entire Black Cat pirates, and the firelight reflected the entire sea red. In an instant, screams came one after another on the deck of the Black Cat pirate ship. A large group of pirates who finally got on the boat jumped into the sea like a swarm. Even the Black Cat brothers jumped into the sea with black smoke on their faces, quickly cooling their burned skin. The entire Black Cat pirates instantly turned into a hell on earth. Looking at the scene in front of you, both Usopp and the guards of the Kia family who came to help couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. The solution that Miss Lin Lu came up with is really cruel. Fortunately she is a pirate hunter, not a pirate. The fire was wanton, and the hot breath and nauseating meat fragrance quickly swept across the entire coast. The pirates who were in desperate situation also began to pick up their weapons again and look in the direction where Usopp and others were. The Black Cat brothers, who were wet, had a ferocious face and looked at Usopp on the hillside, and a fierce anger suddenly burst out from their eyes. Damn bastard! They immediately raised their claws and shouted to the hillside that was far away. Little ones, our ship has been destroyed. If we don't take down the village in front of us, we will die here completely. Now there are only 2 roads in front of us. Rush up. Enjoy the fruit of victory belonging to our pirates. After all, it was after Klo left that he managed the Black Cat pirates with Zangao for 3 years. When he was desperate, the appeal of the Black Cat brothers began to show at this moment. A group of pirates who were forced to the end were instantly obeyed the orders, turned into bloodthirsty demons, and suddenly launched a charge towards the hillside. It's bad. Seeing that the pirates below were going to continue fighting, Usopp's legs swayed again. But just when he was panicked, the appearance of a voice woke him up instantly. It seems that I'm here in time. Miss Lin Lu. Usopp and a group of suit guards immediately turned around and saw a heroic and beautiful girl. The sweat beads on her forehead and the wet hair proved that she had just experienced a vigorous exercise. But when he arrived at the battlefield, the girl immediately adjusted her breathing, as if she was born for the battlefield. Without any unnecessary nonsense, Linlu directly raised a sniper rifle and quickly found a direction in the jungle to set it up. Then she turned around and said to Usopp and others. As agreed before, I will leave it to me, Brother Black Cat. For the rest of the pirates, you can just look at who can rush the fastest, and concentrate your firepower on him. Let him feel the joy of shooting the first bird. Also, Usopp. Arrive. Usopp, nervous and inexplicably, heard Linlu call his name and subconsciously stood up straight like a soldier. Linlu also issued an order directly. You will use a sniper rifle in a while, and focus on selecting guys who hold muskets or other long-range weapons in the pirates to snipe. In this battle, we must use absolute firepower to suppress the other party. And let this sea know. Silab village is not a very hot place. Yes. Usopp, who was excited, was instantly obeyed the order. Although the feeling of killing is not good, he is not a pedantic person either. I won't watch the enemy put the knife on his neck and say something foolishly for free. The sound of gunfire sounded again. The Black Cat Pirates is not small in scale, with nearly 100 people in the entire group. After the first round of gunfire baptism and flame burning, at least most of them still have normal combat power. Fortunately, Linlu and others arrived, Lingxi the firepower in Rob village was replenished. What's more, their preparation is not just that. Just as the pirates began to climb along the hillside, several barrels filled with oil rolled down from the hillside again. Just as they were about to arrive in front of the pirates, a bullet instantly exploded the oil barrel. A small cloud of flame mushrooms appeared, and the gushing flames immediately swallowed the fastest pirates. But in this severe battlefield, all this has become less important. The pirate side, who was burning to death, was completely red in his eyes. The village of Zailuobu has also used various terrain advantages to set up a large number of traps. In the end, when the pirates rushed to the hillside, there were only a dozen people left who could still move normally. Even so, they were covered with various colors and suffered injuries of different sizes. Bad bastards, your death is here. With his flexible figure, the Black Cat brothers who had forcibly made a bloody path showed off their sharp cat claws and laughed cruelly. However, facing the pirates who were less than 10 meters away from them, Linlu was not afraid at all. Under Usopp's special care, all the guys carrying guns on the Black Cat pirates were unknowingly killed by him. Those who can run up have absolutely no firearms on their bodies, all of which are cold weapons used. As the saying goes, within 7 steps, the gun is fast and accurate. Linlu smiled slightly, but instantly took out 2 muskets from her waist. With the buff increase of her gun-fighting skills, she quickly fired several shots. Each shot accurately shot a pirate in the forehead. In terms of sniping, she may not have the talent of Usopp, but after having gunfighting, she felt that if she faced Klo again, she would never be as embarrassed as last time, and would not be affected by it. Any injuries? Is that true? It's just right, I can try the gun well. After firing several shots, Linlu said to the Black Cat brother who had not yet come to his senses. But the next second, she threw the 2 guns in her hand at the Black Cat brothers. Damn bastard. Brush. Several cold lights flashed by, and the fragile musket was instantly cut into several segments by sharp claws, scattered all over the ground. But when the Black Cat brothers wanted to raise their heads again, they only saw a dark barrel facing them. Goodbye, too. Linlu murmured softly, her fingers quickly pulled the trigger, and her wrist shook. Bang bang. 2 extremely fast bullets instantly emerged and shot straight into the eyebrows of the Black Cat brothers. Nothing unexpected at all. The bullet that even Klo could not dodge directly penetrated the 2 of them's eyebrows. With 2 thuds, the fat and thin figures pounced on the ground. The death of the Black Cat brother also calmed down immediately by the pirates who were still alive. But it's too late now. A series of gunfire sounded, and the people behind Lin Lu directly shot out a line of guns, completely killing the remaining pirates. Done. Get it done. With the death of the last pirate, this ridiculous pirate invasion battle came to an end. Usopp stood on the hillside, looking at the corpses all over the ground and the pirate ships burning, and it seemed that he felt unreal. Although he could also think of setting traps to fight the enemy, he would never set such a ruthless trap. On the other hand, Lin Lu seemed to have never thought about letting these pirates survive from the beginning. This woman's heart is so cruel. Usopp sighed in his heart. Lin Lu also waved his hands to everyone, and immediately asked someone to put away the bodies of the Black Cat brothers. Unfortunately, Zhang Gao died on the ship, and now he is probably burned to carbonization with the pirate ship. I don't know if the status of the Kia family can give the Navy General Zhang Gao's reward. Lin Lu murmured softly in her heart. Immediately, her consciousness flashed and she opened the task panel. A flashing word, submittable, appeared behind the fourth ring above. The bounty of the Black Cat brothers is 700 W Bailey, and it is obvious that the bounty of 500 W Bailey has been determined by passing the task. Seeing these three words, Lin Lu's thoughts suddenly became lively. Is it possible to submit, not to directly determine the completion? So that. Her eyes turned and she looked at the details of the task behind the mission that, let more people know. In other words, I can continue to maintain the state of this task and then promote this matter so as to get more rewards. Lin Lu instantly understood the meaning of the dusk space and decided to temporarily retain the task status and submit it after the preparation is complete. She didn't know how the other players were progressing, nor did she know where the others were scattered. But since she had good luck with a Kia Chamber of Commerce, which was considered a little energy in the East China Sea, of course she had to use the name of this Chamber of Commerce to make herself gain more profits. Speaking of this world seems to have a devil fruit that can make people gain magical power. I wonder if the strength of the Kia family can help me get one. Has anyone already completed the mission of the third ring? The main world, on a certain planet. Kyle, who is assigning character cards to the creatures on this planet, suddenly received a prompt from the Lord of Dusk. He immediately divided his mind and looked inside the situation of the small world. Suddenly, I saw Lin Lu who was cleaning up the mess with the guards of Kia's family. I didn't expect that the first one to complete the task would be this little girl. Kyle is quite familiar with Lin Lu. After all, he is the best among the first batch of players and is also Kyle's focus. Can he become the world master as soon as possible, but it all depends on these little players. Maybe, it's time to make more efforts for these little players. Kyle murmured softly, and immediately gave an order to the Lord of Dusk. Open the side mission system. Before, there was no side quest for the young players. First, because they had just arrived at the pirate world, and even if they were activated, there were no decent side quests that could be sent to them. Second, both Kyle and the Lord of Dusk would have been the first to be the first. The focus is on the first mission space and there is no time to care about more. Fortunately, the performance of the young players is very consistent with Kyle's wishes. Although their progress was not very fast, it was okay for Kyle. After all, it is difficult to start with all eternities. No matter what, these little players are cheating. Once they become familiar with the pirate world, Kyle believes that with the help of the Dusk Mall, they will be able to grow up soon. Then, step by step, finally achieving his goal. After making the decision, Kyle also changed his gaze and began to look at other players he liked. That is, Li Kuijang, whose birth point is near Luffy. The reason why Kyle is paying attention to him is also because of this guy's luck. It's really great. You should know that whether it is the lottery for the novice gift package or the lottery for the birth point, they are all randomly generated. And he can become the only guy who gets the S-level skill among thousands of people. And he can also encounter a thigh like Luffy when he goes out. Kyle always feels that this player in his small world has something on him. Luck is also part of strength. Kyle also has deep feelings about this. So after seeing Li Kuijang's adventure go so smoothly, he also listed him as one of the key points of attention. At this time, his good luck seemed to have brought him the ultimate reward. Mission Space, Pirate World. On a small unmanned island in the East China Sea. Li Kuijang and Luffy were pressing against a fat and bloated woman with a bloated body and a fat body, moving quickly on a small island. And this fat woman is the famous female pirate in the East China Sea and Yerida, who offers a bounty of 500,000 yuan. Go away. Don't think about playing tricks. Hand over the treasure you have hidden, and I will let Luffy let you live. Li Kuijang, who was pretending to be powerful, shouted loudly. Yarlita, who was tied up with her hands, gritted her teeth, looked angry and cursed in her heart. Damn man, when I find a chance, I must take revenge. But on the surface, she was completely different from her heart, and she showed a flattering smile. Two sirs, don't worry, I'm tied up and can't run away. Soon, we'll arrive at the place where we treasured soon. HMPH. Don't think about playing tricks. Li Kuijang snorted lightly and scolded her. Luffy, who was standing by, followed them with a smile, looking forward to the treasure they would see soon. After all, this is their first adventure since going to sea. I don't know if it was influenced by Li Kuijang's good luck, but after going out to sea, Luffy and the others did not encounter the vortex of the sea current that appeared in the original work. Luffy, who had no travel plan, drifted on the sea with Li Kuijang for more than a month. Although they had visited different islands to replenish food and fresh water during this period, they did not encounter anything special. Until a few days ago, they encountered a group of strange pirates robbing merchant ships. Luffy, who was full of justice, made the decision to help the merchant ship on the spot, and then with his terrifying strength, he defeated the Yarlita pirates in a few seconds. Just as Luffy was about to beat Yarlita away, his actions were intercepted by Li Kuijang, who rushed to the scene. Chapter 335 Fruit and Sword. As a modern person from the Earth, Li Kuijang's way of thinking is certainly impossible to be like Luffy. His whole brain never stores any other ideas except for the dream of being the Shanghai Pirate King. Under the influence of Kyle's will, even if there are guys like Li Kuijang who dare to go up to the mountains of swords and go to various worlds for their dreams, their way of thinking will be more realistic. For example, the moment he saw Luffy want to knock Yarlita away, he thought of many things. No matter what the Straw Hat Pirates will look like in the future, the fundamental reason why a group can continue to survive is that in addition to being able to withstand the power of powerful enemies, resources and wealth are also very important. And Yarlita was able to get a bounty of 500,000 Bailey in the weakest sea of the East China Sea. Li Kuijang didn't believe her treasure only there is a little on the boat. After some words and deeds, Yarlita confessed to one of her treasures. In order not to let her subordinates divide too much, after each robbery, she would actually hide some secretly, then pretend to be generous, and divide all her treasures with her subordinates equally. And find another opportunity to secretly store these treasures. This kind of thing is common among pirates. Not all pirates are united in the captain and crew. There are even cases where the famous pirates were killed by the crew because they wanted to take away their treasures. As a traditional pirate captain, burying treasures and other things is almost a compulsory course for them. The reason why Li Kuijang stopped Luffy and did not let him knock Yarlita away was for the treasure and money of the Yarlita pirates. Because the robbery of pirates was very pirate, Luffy almost hesitated and immediately chose to obey Li Kuijang's arrangements. In this way, they appeared on this uninhabited island. But Li Kuijang never thought of it. The biggest surprise this trip brought to him was not the treasure of the Yarlita pirates. It's here, two adults. Crossing a sparse forest, Li Kuijang and Luffy, who were escorting Yarlita, soon came to a huge stone cave. At this moment, Yarlita's face could no longer be disguised as flattering. When she thought of the wealth she had accumulated over the years, she was about to be taken away. She felt like someone digging a piece of meat in her heart, and it was extremely painful. But how could Li Kuijang and Luffy spoil her? After the two of them determined the location of the treasure, they walked directly into the cave. In order to avoid traps or other mechanisms, Li Kuijang directly blocked Yarlita. With her big flesh shield in front of her, the sense of security is full of straight lines. Of course, perhaps Yarlita never thought that one day she would be defeated and would be defeated so miserably. So until they walked into the depths of the cave, they did not encounter any so-called traps, and they successfully found the gold, silver and jewelry worth 2,000 W Bailey hidden by Yarlita. However, just as they were about to leave with these treasures, Li Kuijang suddenly looked up and looked at an ordinary wild fruit on a tree in surprise, which suddenly changed under his nose. Lu Luffy. He had never seen this magical scene before and exclaimed, calling out Luffy, who had just bet on the boat with Alita and a bag of treasures. Look at what that is. Luffy turned around in confusion and happened to see the end of the change of the fruit, and then fell to the ground like ordinary fruit ripe. Looking at the strange patterns, Luffy instantly felt a familiar feeling surged into his heart. What's wrong with a fruit? With a swish, Luffy directly stretched out his rubber arm and took the fruit over. It looks so weird I don't know why, but this fruit gives me a very bad feeling. Not delicious. That's right. Li Kuijang snatched the fruit in Luffy's hand, as if afraid that he would be stuffy in one go, and then said with his eyes shining. Because this is not an ordinary fruit at all. If I guess correctly, this should be the legendary devil fruit. After staying in Fengmao town for a while, Li Kuijang also learned a lot of useful information from the village chief in Makino. There is a lot of information about the devil fruit. It just so happened that Makino had seen the devil fruit that Luffy ate with his own eyes, so after seeing this sudden change of fruit and the strange patterns on its body, Li Kuijang immediately guessed his identity. Devil fruit. After hearing this, Luffy suddenly realized and slapped his palm. Oh, yes, this looks like the rubber fruit I ate. It's just a little different color. I just said why it looks so familiar. Fortunately, I just held back and didn't eat it. Shanks told me if a person eats two devil fruits at the same time, he will die. As he said that, as if he had recalled something, Luffy suddenly showed a disgusting expression. Speaking of this, that devil fruit was really unpalatable at that time. You have the nerve to say it. The future One Piece. He glanced at Luffy gently and looked at the future One Piece who would have died of greed if he hadn't stopped him. Li Kuijang replied angrily. Since he and Luffy went out to sea, they have suffered a lot during this period. Even several times, Luffy ate all their food rations because of his greed, which led to them having to fish every day to satisfy their hunger. After experiencing many things, the status of the two has now changed. Faced with his teasing, Luffy smiled embarrassedly, then skillfully changed the topic. By the way, you don't have the ability to make a fruit yet. Do you want to eat this fruit? Of course, Li Kuijang replied without hesitation. Although he was not sure what kind of abilities this fruit would give him, he believed. This devil fruit actually appeared in front of me in this way, that must be the gift God gave to himself. As the saying goes, don't want to come to the door, you are so ruthless. His novice mission is still waiting for a skill to complete. After answering Luffy, Li Kuijang immediately looked at the devil fruit. After pausing for a few seconds, he immediately picked up the fruit, then bit off a piece of flesh in one bite, and swallowed it. In an instant, a discomfort smell penetrated his mouth. But after taking so many risks, Li Kuijang has never eaten any disgusting things. It's just a devil fruit that is as uneating as shit, and it can't even rank in the top 5 on his uneating list. Soon, he ate all the devil fruits. And his body also changed rapidly. I saw that his body, who was originally muscular and burly, was shrinking rapidly at this moment, and his wheat-colored rough skin became extremely smooth at this moment. A handsome guy with extremely handsome skin with smooth and bright skin suddenly appeared in front of Luffy. Li Kuijang, are you shining? Seeing this scene, Luffy immediately shouted interestingly. When Li Kuijang heard this, he hurriedly looked at his hands and saw a pair of extremely tender and smooth palms that could be called a work of art. Oh no, I can't eat any beauty fruits, right? Li Kuijang was shocked. He quickly opened his character panel, and he was relieved after seeing his skill bar. Open black lens bracket skill, sliding fruit unawakened close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket level, beak can be improved close black lens bracket. Effect. The surface of the body becomes extremely smooth, with infinitely close to zero friction, and all items that touch the skin will slide open. Close black lens bracket. The introduction is very short, only 2 sentences. But after Li Kuizheng, who had received compulsory education in 1999, his eyes suddenly lit up after seeing this introduction. Although he had just obtained the ability to fruit, he inexplicably felt that his ability was very strong. Super strong. Invincible and powerful. Infinitely close to zero friction. Although he had not thought about how to use this fruit ability to fight, just this short sentence made him know that the potential of this fruit is infinite. What's more, there is a word, unawakened, behind the skill. From this point of view, there should be some way of cultivation or improvement in the devil fruit. It's just that because the devil fruits are too rare, Li Kuizheng has no channels to obtain more useful information yet. And strange, isn't it said that the weakness of the devil fruit is sea water and sea tower stone? Why isn't it written in the skill introduction? Li Kuizheng soon discovered the blind spot. At the same time, a very bold guess also appeared in his mind. I saw him say to Luffy, "Luffy, stay here and don't walk around, I'll go test something." Ah! Luffy was stunned for a moment, but before he could come to his senses, Li Kuizheng took off his shoes smoothly, and then rushed to the coast quickly on the beach like ice skating. When he arrived at the coast, his figure suddenly stopped. Very good. You can actually decide on the switch by yourself. In this way, you don't have to worry about any accidents because they are too smooth. The surprise in Li Kuizheng's eyes became more and more obvious. Immediately afterwards, he just extended his arm to the sea. Then, no feeling, no sense of weakness. Seeing that he and Luffy performed completely differently after touching the sea, he once again penetrated the sea. But I still didn't feel any weakness. Li Kuizheng gradually progressed until his body entered the sea and even pierced his body in the sea. He didn't feel any abnormality in his body. Sure enough, the side effects of the devil fruit were actually erased by the Lord of Dusk. Wow, ha 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 tilde in this way, I may be the only person in the world who is not afraid of sea water, right? No tilde I must be more than one player in this world. It seems that we players are going to shock the world a little. Li Kuizheng thought with a funny heart. When he got ashore again, he suddenly saw Luffy, who had always been careless, and at this moment he showed a look of surprise. This is an extremely rare scene. I'd love to bring a camera here. Successfully started the next task. Li Kuizheng, who has a bounty of more than 500,000, thought of this. At the same time. On the other side, in the Frost Moon village, in the Frost Moon gym. Kishiro looked helpless and reluctantly looked at the disciple who was carrying his bags in front of him and bid farewell to him, and gave his final advice. Yi Fan, your swordsmanship has just begun. There is no need to leave the gym so urgently, after all. Master Gengshiro, you don't have to persuade me anymore, I'm determined. Yi Fan raised his head and looked at Kishiro firmly, and behind that firmness was a deep sense of gratitude. Because of his parents' unexpected death, Yi Fan thought that his life would no longer be warm. But during this time in the Frost Moon Gymnasium, he felt the care of Kiyoshiro like his parents. Even though he didn't have long been to the Frost Moon Gymnasium. And the reason why he made the decision to leave the Frost Moon Gymnasium was not that he let it go abandon the path of learning kendo. On the contrary, it is because open black lens bracket skill, basic kendo upgradable close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket level, E can be improved close black lens bracket. Introduction. The basic kendo originated from the descendant of Frost Moon Gyu, Koshiro. The descendant of Frost Moon Gyu can lay a perfect foundation for subsequent improvements in kendo. Close black lens bracket. Yes. In just half a month, Yi Fan learned the swordsmanship of the Frost Moon Gymnasium. Part of this is because his sports master skills have given him a certain understanding of kendo. And more of it comes from his insights into kendo. Wave the sword, anyone can do it. But it is extremely difficult to swing every sword as you think. Being able to do this is equivalent to getting started with kendo. Just so happened that Yi Fan, who has sports master skills, learned and systematically learned the sword philosophy of the pirate world. Perhaps it was his secondary soul burning, or perhaps it was because his talent in this Taoism was indeed far beyond ordinary people. Before he knew it, he actually obtained this skill that although he was only E-level, he was evaluated by Dusk Space for the word, perfect. In fact, the kendo he learned in such a short time naturally could not have such a high evaluation. Obviously, this subsequent evaluation is the reward given to Yi Fan by Dusk Space. After learning this skill, Yi Fan, a beginner of kendo, directly gained an impeccable foundation in kendo. So much so that he really had nothing to learn at the Frost Moon Gymnasium. Of course, Koshiro Frostayu would naturally not understand this. After all, although his swordsmanship is good, he is not the top of the world. The word, perfect. Perhaps even the world's largest swordsman today may not be able to achieve it. After all, this is no longer something that manpower can do. It represents absolute, supreme. Although this skill will not bring too much combat power to Yi Fan, it will be of far-reaching help to his sword path. It can be foreseeable that as long as Yi Fan is not so unlucky, he will die on the way to growth. Among the top swordsmen in the future pirate world, he will definitely be there. Chapter 336 Side Mission. Looking at Yi Fan's firm eyes, Kishiro felt inexplicably melancholy for a moment. At the beginning, he believed that Yi Fan had just started learning kendo at such an age, and he would definitely not have achieved much success. But unexpectedly, Yi Fan's talent in this field was far beyond his imagination. Even Zoro was probably not comparable to Yi Fan's talent. But Yi Fan also has a fatal weakness. That is his body, too weak. Even in terms of physical strength alone, he is not as good as Zoro just joined the Frost Moon Gymnasium. Sword Taoism is a combination of skills and power. Both complement each other and are indispensable. Yi Fan's body made him unable to exert all that talent. So Kishiro's idea was to let Yi Fan stay in the gym and practice systematically for a few years. There are many herbs and resources in the gym that can attach students to exercise their bodies. He believes that in a few years, Yi Fan will definitely be able to achieve something in the kendo path. More importantly, he saw the shadow of his deceased daughter Guina in Yi Fan. The same excellent swordsmanship talent, but also the same physical burden. He really didn't want to see Guina's tragedy happening to the second person. But Yi Fan's intention to leave has been decided. As a player, he is not as trump card as Koshiro thought. Because just when he obtained the skills and obtained the fourth ring mission of Pirate Hunter Identity, he also obtained a side mission that can be repeatedly accepted. Side task. This job, repeatable. Task content. Kill or defeat the villain with a bounty and take it to the Navy for a bounty. Close black lens bracket. Task reward. Rewards varying points rewards based on the amount of rewards exchanged PS. Points can be redeemed in the mall. Close black lens bracket. Yes, Yi Fan left the Frost Moon Gym this time to complete this repetitive side mission. He had already browsed the products in the Dusk Mall as early as the Dusk Space. Even with the recommendation of the Lord of Twilight, he had already set his sights on the goods he wanted to exchange for. However, the cheapest item among them all costs 100 points, which makes Yi Fan, who is short of money, can only wait for the plum to quench his thirst. Now that the side mission is started, he has seen hope. As a student who has just recovered from the symptoms of secondary disease for a few years, Yi Fan has never admitted his ordinary life like an adult who has been beaten by society. In his opinion, if he doesn't fight when he can, what's the possibility of him? You must know. In the Dusk Space, there is a person who can resurrect the dead. Although the requirements are extremely high and require a lot of points to consume, for Yi Fan, this is a gift from God to resurrect his parents. He had no reason to retreat. Well, seeing that Yi Fan seemed to be in a stubborn manner and did not listen to his advice no matter what, Zhang Xiro finally gave up the possibility of leaving this young man. He shook his head gently and sighed, "Forget it, maybe you are right. The wonderful world outside may stimulate your potential more. But before you leave here, Koshiro. He paused and reached out and took off the sword that had been prepared on his waist. Take it away. The treasure of the Shuangyu Gymnasium has been taken away by your senior brother. The only thing that can be given to you by your master is this good fast knife, Chen Shuang. Master Kishiro. Looking at the Liang Kuei knife held in front of him with both hands, Yi Fan's eyes were stunned for a moment. This isn't this the sword that has been following you for many years? Two can't ask. The student's shyness still made Yi Fan refuse. But Kekken Shiro smiled and shook his head gently. I'm old, maybe I won't need to use it in my life. Instead of letting this Chenshuang remain silent with me, it is better to let it have a more suitable owner. Yi Fan, you will make this knife famous, right? The corners of Keishiro's mouth were slightly raised, and a warm smile appeared. A ray of warm sunshine poured down and fell on Keishiro's body, making him more peaceful and quiet. Master Kishiro. Yi Fan choked and then his eyes flashed, and his face suddenly became firm. He solemnly took the good quick knife, replaced the ordinary long knife around his waist, and then said seriously to Koshiro. Don't worry, Master Kishiro. I will definitely let you har a new legend created by this knife. Yi Fan bowed deeply, then nodded with Kiyoshiro's approval, turned around resolutely, left the Frost Moon Gymnasium, and walked towards the port. The public security in Shuangyu village is excellent. Although Yi Fan had not arrived at the port for a while, his small fishing boat was still docked there and was not lost. After taking the boat of his own and finally taking a look at the direction of the Frost Moon Gymnasium, Yi Fan drove directly towards the endless sea with the sailing skills brought by the sports expert. This time he left the Frost Moon Gymnasium, he was not a temporary brain fever. Yi Fan had already decided the destination he was going to next. Luozh town, known as the starting point and the end point. He knew very well that his strength was not very strong, and he might not even be able to defeat the fishman who was chasing him. According to Master Kiyoshiro's evaluation of him, he is now almost able to defeat a first-class Navy soldier who does not have a gun. The first-class private in the Navy is just a guy with a little strength at the grassroots level of the Navy. This also made Yi Fan clearly know that his power is just a bottom-ranked existence in this world. But it doesn't matter. Roger Town is a complex city. This is not only the only way for every pirate group in the East China Sea who wants to enter the Great Route. It is also a place where all kinds of dark forces are mixed. Although there is a naval branch in Roger Town, it still cannot stop the bad guys who appear because of the worship of Roger, the world's #1 evil man. Among them, there are many gangsters with only a bounty of tens of thousands or even tens of thousands of Baileys. Yi Fan's target is the lower-level figures among these evil forces. Compared with ordinary people, these guys are just more hostile and martial. A true professional pirate hunter will not look at the guy who only pays a few meals for a bounty, and it is hard and thankless. But for Yi Fan, these guys are his best targets at the moment. After all, his purpose is not just money. The points he earns from completing the side mission are what he cares about the most. It just so happens that there is a naval base in Roger Town, and I heard that the Navy there is extremely upright and never deducts the bounty of the pirate hunter. And because of the Navy's charge, ordinary evildoers dare not do whatever they want here. This is simply the best place to develop for Yi Fan at present. I hope I won't let Master Koshiro down on his kindness. Yi Fan held the dust with one hand on top of the frost, and the light of expectation flashed in his eyes. And at the same time. Of course, there will be no only Yi Fan and the other 3 lucky ones in the entire mission space. Navy Headquarters Marinfando, a girl who has just joined the training of the naval recruits, is reluctantly following the recruits of this class to carry out physical training. She has obtained the sea-level skill sharing and evolving and is now constantly adjusting her movements by observing the movements of those with superior grades ahead. And this scene was also seen by Zepha, who came to watch the training of the recruits by chance. New World, Cake Island. A 3-star Earth Tire pancake chef, with his first-class D-level skill in blasting cooking, actually conquered a group of pirates one after another, and reported them layer by layer, and eventually became the royal user of the 4 Emperor's pirates, the Ant Pirates. Chef. And he also received a Superman-type demon fruit moose fruit rewarded by the ant. Although under the physical energy of the Earthlings, even if he eats this devil fruit, he still does not gain strong power, but this makes him make the dessert more and more as the ant wants. I don't know if it's his illusion. When he went to deliver desserts in the past few days, he always felt that the ant looked at him strangely. In his satisfaction, he also brought some appreciation and possession that he couldn't understand. The Shampoo Islands, the home of a wealthy man. The rich man who had just bought a shy maid from a slave auction house couldn't wait to pull it into the house, but just as he took off his clothes and was about to enjoy this beauty on earth, he saw that the originally timid maid compared her hands to a cross, and then suddenly turned into a puppy. And the bomb shackles that originally trapped the maid fell off instantly. The next second, a thick smoke emanated from the puppy's body again, and in a blink of an eye, a young man with cold eyes walked out of the smoke. Then he stabbed the rich man in the throat with a knife, and his other hand held his body. It's normal to relax, pain. After more than 10 seconds, the naked rich man fell directly into a pool of blood. After looking at him, the young man transformed himself into the appearance of a rich man again. Immediately he chuckled while wearing his clothes. I didn't expect that this only sea-level transformation technique was unexpectedly useful. In a few days, a demon fruit will be auctioned at the Don Gilshote auction. Based on this guy's assets, you should be able to easily capture that devil fruit. The eyes of the young man who had become a rich man flashed. After putting on his clothes, he began to quickly drag the rich man into the bed, and then something blocked the body. After doing all this, the rich man walked out of the door with a big belly, reached out to call a housekeeper, and then said directly to him, "Next, I want an important adult to have a secret cooperation to discuss. You can take out all your salary for the past 2 months and then send it to your servants. Next you can leave the villa. Remember, none of you can come back without my notification." With the continuous infusion of vows, the cross-sectional area of the small world has long surpassed the ordinary solar system. Although affected by resources, there are only a few planets in the small world where humans can live, but this has also made the population of the small world exceed the 80 billion mark and head towards the 100 billion. Among such a large population, the first batch of players who can be selected by the Dusk Space can be imagined how high their quality is. After all, the main god of Dusk has cosmic AI computing power, and it is impossible to find a bad eye. Except for some real unlucky guys who were killed by the levels set in the Dusk Space at the beginning, the remaining thousands of people can be said to have all found their own path. It won't take long before the entire mission space will be turned upside down because of the existence of these guys. Have anyone started to exchange props? Kyle, who received the prompt from the Lord of Dusk, put down his work and injected consciousness into the small world. Because Bella recently successfully helped him get the information of the domain master hidden in the nearby universe through relationships. So during this period, Kyle has been studying these domain masters, and has to issue character cards to creatures on other planets, so he rarely cares about things in the small world. But it doesn't matter. He had already agreed with the Lord of Dusk that once there was any phased success in the small world, he would immediately remind him. Look, it's not long before the side quests are issued, many players have completed side quests. Some people have even started to buy props in the Dusk Mall with a minimum purchase of 100 points. You must know. A player who has chosen the identity of Pirate Hunter must successfully escort a pirate with a bounty of more than 1000 W Bailey to obtain these 100 points. For players who were just Earthlings not long ago, this is not very difficult. With the replay of the Lord of Dusk, Kyle's attention soon came to the vast sea area of the pirate mission space, the South China Sea. On this sea, the two ships collided fiercely. One comes from the Navy, and the other comes from pirates. The player who obtained points and redeemed props was a newly enlisted Navy on the Navy warship. Through the replay of the Lord of Dusk, Kyle also saw the entire process of completing his mission. First of all, the Navy commander Sao, who was in charge of this warship, was defeated by the captain of the pirates who offered a bounty of 1200 W. He was hit by a knife and was seriously injured. The entire Navy's strength fell into sluggishness. And at this moment, taking advantage of the captain of the pirates, the players hiding in the Navy directly activated their skills, Magic Tree Binding Kill. This is a C-level illusion from the Naruto world. The effect is that the other party can see the scene of himself being tied up by trees. If it were normal times, the player's mental power could not control the reward pirates who had experienced countless life and death levels in the pirate world. But because he had fought with Chief of Navy to the point where he was lacking in energy before, he was easily controlled by the player's illusion. Just as others were not sure about this, the player rushed out with a knife, stabbed the Navy in the heart with a knife, and killed him directly. And this is the whole process of him getting a large number of points in one fell swoop. With just one C-level skill, he completed an ultimate higher-level kill at the right place and at the right time. Chapter 337 New Players. Well, it's pretty just like. After reading the player's actions, Kyle gave his evaluation calmly. Rely on powerful forces, participate in battles above your own level, wait for a good opportunity, and kill them with one blow. In general, this first place can save more than 100 points. The players who purchased props in the mall did not give Kyle too many thoughts. After all, he has too many tricks to be able to kill the pirate. The abilities of illusion are one of the unsolvable abilities in the bottom power of the pirate world, second only to the elementalization of the natural fruit abilities. It is only because the physical constitution of the Earthlings is too weak that players who hold illusions or mental abilities will be killed in all directions. The first prop this player redeems is not a skill, but a potion that can increase its physical strength by a small increase. This was obviously a clever decision. Although this disposable prop has almost no advantages except for its quick results. But there are only a few kung fu that can be redeemed for 100 points, and they are all extremely low-end. Even if you can keep practicing, you will get far more benefits than the one-time props. But that also takes time to accumulate. Now, this player has solved the enemy that Chief Sao cannot solve in front of all the Navy. Even if he wants to give a large portion of the credit to Chief Sao, he will inevitably be promoted. The sixth ring of the Naval Identity Novice mission is exactly related to the promotion of military rank. It can be said that it complements each other and is just right. And after taking that bottle of potion, the player's physical strength was enough to allow him to use his illusion skills to deal with some thieves with weak minds. A guy with a bounty of at least 500 billion would not be his opponent if he was not surprised. As for the skills he learned in the pirate world, it is also very interesting. Even after joining the Navy, he did not use the Navy's channels to learn some combat moves. Instead, he learned medical skills seriously with an old doctor in the Navy branch. Perhaps it was his identity as a medical student on Earth that quickly mastered the medical skills of the pirate world, and was judged as a skill by the Dusk Space, and gained the increase in medical skills. Yes. In addition to combat skills, life skills can also be recognized by Dusk Space. In fact, many players who have failed to seek combat skills have realized this and have begun to switch to other life skills. Planting, winemaking, woodworking, forging. Among these thousands of players, many have completed tasks through life skills, and with the blessing of the skills in the Dusk Space, they are well known in the local area. All roads lead to Rome, and Kyle never restricts the development of his own small players. He even felt that only in this way can the player's advantages be maximized. After checking the situation in the small world, Kyle felt relieved when he saw that everything was developing thriving. But immediately, he summoned the main consciousness of the Dusk Lord AI again. Now this guy is a busy man, all his computing power is scattered throughout the small world, and he is gathering huge data flows every moment. But Kyle won't pity it, and even adds a burden to it. Have you decided the candidates for the second batch of players? It's decided, Lord Kyle. The Lord of Dusk responded immediately. Immediately afterwards, a large list appeared in front of Kyle. There are about 1,500 people on this list, which is much smaller than the first batch. But this is mainly because the time is too short, and the main god of Dusk has not yet. In addition, Kyle's wishes are getting stronger and stronger every moment, and the small world nourished by the wishes is getting bigger and bigger. In order not to waste space in the small world, Kyle is improving the environment for living creatures to survive, while affecting the fertility problems in the small world through the means of the Creator God. He didn't care before because the dusk space has not been built yet, and I don't know if it will affect the follow-up plan. Now the dusk space has stabilized, and the second and third large-scale mission spaces have been built. It is time to let the small world enter a period of rapid development. And if you want to develop, the most important thing is naturally the population. The larger the population base, the greater the probability that heroes and geniuses can be produced. With the injection of thought, the ruling class in the entire small world instantly came up with an idea. The population of this world is too small. As a result, various 2-child policies, 3-child policies, and even 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8-child plans appeared one after another around the world. Lower the marriage age and childbearing age. The state pays to help you raise children. The more you are born, the more rewards you receive, the better your living benefits will be. With the release of policies to promote childbirth, the entire small world instantly entered a state of crazy giving birth. Everyone seemed to have obtained a system of multiple children and blessings, and they were desperately giving birth. Of course, it will take at least 10 years to see substantial gains. However, for Kyle now, the situation over the past decade is just a matter of conquering 5 or 6 galaxies. If the second batch of players only have 1,500, there is no need to enable large-scale mission space for them. What's more, Naruto and Death are not the worlds I have experienced personally. According to my memory and the AI capabilities of the Lord of Twilight, there may be loopholes in the mission space. We should try it out after a few more simulations. As for this second batch of players, simply divide them into 2 batches and find 2 small task spaces for them. Kyle thought for a moment and soon thought of it. Choose which space to use for the second batch of tests. Demon Slayer Blade. Tokyo Foodie. Although the power levels of these 2 worlds are not too high, they are also very dangerous for the first group of players from Earth. An evil ghost who acts at night, cannibalizes people invisibly, and is immortal. A ghoul lurking in the shadow of the city and possesses cruel and human-loving instinct. In addition, in these 2 worlds, there are ways to allow ordinary people to gain power, and it is just right for players to be the primary trial field. Let's make a decision like this for the time being. When the Dragon Ball space is completed, these new players will have almost the power of planets. Then they will be sent to Dragon Ball space for the next round of trials. However, the second-level trial field is just a Dragon Ball space, and the construction of Dupo space, Duluo space and the mysterious space must be put on the agenda. As for the third-level trial, just use the background that swallows the starry sky. With the level of this world, it is enough to cultivate strong people at the domain master level. After confirming where the second group of players went, Kyle was as if he was talking to himself. And as if he had arranged a follow-up plan, he gave what he thought to the Lord of Twilight. Of course, according to Kyle's vision, his small world will definitely not have only a few mission spaces. But now my wish is limited, and a large part of it is going to support the scale of the small world, so the plan can only be carried out step by step. Brother Kill, Saint Seiya, Food Captain, Shadow, Box Court. Countless mission spaces are still waiting for Kyle to build. Only this is the only thing he enjoys. If he really has sufficient will in the future, he will not be unable to transform all these projection spaces into real forms and place them in his own small world. The power of wish is still not enough. Kyle, who had just become a domain lord for a few years, was already comparable to other domain lords for 180 years of hard work. Time rushes, never returns, never stops. In a blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. 3 years are just a moment for the vast universe. But for the players in the small world, this is the 3 years they will never forget. Small world, pirate mission space. Blue sky, white clouds, sea, lonely boat. Everything is so peaceful and quiet. However, at this moment, a harsh sound of breaking through the air suddenly broke the quiet scene. A mecha that was gushing with blazing flames suddenly slashed through the sky, stirring up a violent wave on the sea surface. In the blink of an eye, the mecha came to the top of a warship. A flash of fire, Lin Lu suddenly stopped. Looking at the battleship below, she touched her helmet with her steel fingertips. In an instant, the steel armor suddenly opened, revealing a delicate face. It should be here. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Lu hovered in the air and dived directly downward and flew towards the warship. In a few seconds, she arrived on the deck of the battleship. Pung! The heavy mecha landed on the ground and made a muffled sound. Who is it? The busy sailors on the deck heard the strange noise and immediately picked up their weapons and looked alert. For a moment, the entire battleship deck was filled with a tense atmosphere. And at this moment, a figure slowly walked out of the cabin of the warship. Don't write a simple but bright sword around this person's waist, and his breath seems to be integrated into nature. Looking around, it gives people a quiet and peaceful atmosphere, as if it has been integrated into the surrounding environment. When the visitor saw the situation on the deck, he did not show any fighting spirit like the others. Instead, he chuckled and reclaimed his companions on both sides, and then said with a smile. Sister Lin Lu, it's been a long time since we met Tilda. Yi Fan. Looking at the completely different figures in front of him and in his memory, Lin Lu sighed with emotion. You guys seems to have become stronger again. Yi Fan smiled without saying a word, but looked at Lin Lu with a peaceful look. Lin Lu was also under Yi Fan's gaze, and couldn't help but recall the days when the two of them had galloped in the East China Sea. 3 years ago, with the help of the Kia family, Lin Lu successfully formed a team of pirate hunters and began to hunt pirates with bounty in various parts of the East China Sea. As she and her team solved more and more pirates, the name of the double-gun girl Lin Lu also started in the pirate hunter circle in the East China Sea. Lin Lu took advantage of the victory to pursue and continued to recruit pirate hunters with her outstanding strength. Yi Fan, who had just exchanged for breathing through his own efforts, also joined Lin Lu's team. After several pirate hunting operations, the two realized the identity of each other's players. Then Lin Lu directly approached Yi Fan, showed up with him, and talked about the cooperation. Although two players will distribute points to obtain together, players are also the fastest progressing existence in the world. In addition, the most lacking in this world is pirates, so the cooperation between the two is smooth and there is no mistake. In this way, the two of them sang all the way, even becoming one of the strongest players in the East China Sea, and successfully dealing with pirates who offer high rewards such as Admiral Crick and the Fishman and Dragon. However, after that, the two people's intentions but there was a disagreement. Yi Fan wants to enter the Great Route and pursue the real adventure of this world. But Lin Lu wanted to go to other 4 seas, accumulate small amounts and earn points without much danger. In this way, after several conversations failed, the two had no choice but to part ways. Now, it has been 2 years since they separated. By plundering pirates from all over the world, Lin Lu became the famous mechanical queen in the pirate world and established her own pirate hunter base on an uninhabited island. Yi Fan also successfully made a name in the new world with his superb swordsmanship and became a nightmare for many pirates. This time, Lin Lu came here to look for Yi Fan, but in fact he wanted to meet this young man who once brought him happy memories before leaving. But for some reason, she did not see the same feelings as her in the eyes of the boy. Is it because I am being self-indulgent? Lin Lu lamented in her heart. She closed her eyes gently. When she opened them again, her eyes had become as relaxed as Yi Fan, looking at Yi Fan as if she saw an ordinary friend. Yi Fan, aren't you going to leave this world yet? Although this mission space does have some resources, without the main task, staying there may affect our subsequent development. I have found out that many people have left this world, including Li Kuizheng, the current deputy captain of the 4 Emperor's pirates. After going out, we may have the opportunity to enter the same mission space. Lin Lu kindly shared the information he obtained with Yi Fan. With their current strength, they naturally have already completed the 10-ring newcomer mission. According to the arrangements of Kyle and the Lord of Twilight, players can leave the pirate world almost when they have planetary strength, that is, the 7 warriors sea level. Of course, this is just in the pirate world. If it is another mission space, such as Demon Slayer or Naruto, you will have the opportunity to complete the mission before the planetary level. In this regard, the setting of the Dusk Lord is still very flexible. Faced with Lin Lu's invitation, Yi Fan shook his head gently and refused with a smile. Forget it, Sister Lin Lu. I haven't stayed in this world enough, although the world has become strange due to the intrusion of players. But there are so many pirates on the sea, and I can still continue to get points by completing side missions. You. Listening to Yi Fan's rejection, although he was mentally prepared, Lin Lu was still angry. She snorted, whatever you want. Immediately, I called out the system panel directly, clicked the return button, and turned into a starlight and disappeared into the world. Chapter 338. Let's start the war, lords. Have you left? Looking at the faint dissipating starlight, Yi Fan's ancient Jingbubo's eyes suddenly jumped out of an inexplicable light. But soon, the light was covered by the sword intent full of natural breath. No one can be ruthless if one is not a sage. In fact, Yi Fan, who is a very good-aged person, has long been secretly affectionate with this elder sister who is older than him and who takes care of him everywhere. But compared to Lin Lu, he knew better what he wanted. Coupled with the natural sword he has learned, all his emotions can be peaceful. As his understanding of natural swordsmanship deepened, he was able to faintly influence the mood of people around him, and even make the surrounding environment more harmonious. Yi Fan didn't know why he had this characteristic. But since he has this talent, he will naturally not waste it. It was not that he didn't want to have a love relationship, but when Yi Fan realized that Lin Lu's existence would affect his speed of drawing the sword, he finally decided to break the relationship. Maybe. When he grows up so that his sword will not be affected by emotions, he will look back and re-examine this emotion. Ah, did you meet the right person at the wrong time? Hope this is not a joke. Yi Fan sighed lightly, but waved to his pirate hunters, not giving them a chance to eat melons, and directly entered the kendo room in the cabin and continued his own practice. After all, he chose to stay in the pirate world, and he was not very nostalgic about this world. But he felt that there were even more rewards waiting for him to explore in this world. For example, points obtained after defeating the 4 Emperor's pirates. Yes, the reason why he refused Lin Lu's invitation and chose to stay here was to get the last batch of large points in the pirate world. With the withdrawal of other high-end players, Yi Fan is now among the players who are still in the pirate world. His current strength has reached the 4th level of the planetary level, far exceeding the average 7 warriors sea level. According to the observations of other players, the captains of the Straw Hat Pirates, Luffy and Kaido are probably at the 7th level of the planet. However, that guy with straw hat seems to have some other powers on his body, which makes many players with detection ability feel the abnormality. Therefore, Yi Fan did not list it as his necessary hunting target. After all, Straw Hat Pirates the deputy captain is that bastard Li Kuijang. Who knows if he left any other backup plan for the Straw Hat Pirates before he left. Although the Lord of Twilight told them that everything in the mission world is just a projection. And all these two real feelings inevitably make many players feel affection for the characters in the pirate world. Li Kuijang is a model. As players, although they choose different camps, they all come from the same main world. The task of adding the pirate camp is to get a higher naval reward, the more points you can get. This also makes players in the pirate camp not as competitive as the pirate hunter camp. Even many players in the pirate camp have obtained a bounty that should not belong to him by squatting together to keep warm. Of course, as the best player in the pirate camp, many people have tried to explore Li Kuijang's tone. But that guy didn't know what was wrong. He seemed to refuse to agree to betray the Straw Hat Pirates, and even beat the guy who came to persuade him. In this way, rumors about the weirdo Li Kuijang were soon spread among the players. But, the Straw Hat Pirates where he is located sings all the way, absorbing masters and heroes from all walks of life. Now there is even a trend of the strongest pirates among the 4 emperors. What's more, let alone he can't afford to offend this Straw Hat Pirates, even if he can. For the sake of his senior brother Zoro, Yi Fan would not attack the Straw Hat Pirates. Among the 4 emperors, the red-haired pirates are the only ones who are suspected to have the strength of the 8th level planetary level. Whitebeard also recovered greatly with the help of a player, and had a level of comparable red hair. So for Yi Fan, he could not move any of the four Emperor's pirates on the surface. However, who said that there are only 4 pirates in the 4 Emperors? Yi Fan's target has never been the 4 Emperors on the surface. Instead, he was defeated by the Straw Hat Pirates and is now hiding in a corner, not knowing what the future ahead, the Ant Pirates. Although he was one of the 4 Emperors in the past, the Ant's strength is only at the 6th level of the planet. Now he is seriously injured with the Straw Hat Pirates. Yi Fan believed that with his natural swordsmanship and various props exchanged from the Dusk Mall, he might not have no chance to solve the problem of the Ant at this time. A new bloody storm is about to surging in this mission space that has reached its end. And all of this was seen by Kyle. But at this time, he no longer cared about what tricks the players in the Pirate World mission space would play. Because of his attention, he was all attracted by the players who entered the world of Fighting Poe in the first step. A new round of adventure is about to begin. Time passes by like a flash of time. In the blink of an eye, 30 years passed quietly. Everything seemed to happen yesterday. But only Kyle, who is standing in the center of the star field, knows. His path is approaching perfection. Dunny, what's going on in the dusk space? Those little guys should have the power to fight now, right? Because he had made every effort to conquer the creatures in the star field, Kyle, who had not paid attention to the small world for a long time, suddenly asked the Lord of Dusk. The main god of the dusk in Kyle's body immediately projected the original body, which was the huge light ball that the players saw, hit Kyle's eyes. With the tone of the reply, the light ball emits a corresponding rhythmic flash. Go back to Lord Kyle. At present, there are 365,142 players in the small world, including 80,567 in the early stage of the planet, 134,863 in the middle stage, and the early stage of the star level is 32,578 people, the middle stage of the star. 24 people in the early stage of the universe and 5 people in the middle stage. The voice of the Lord God at dusk ended here abruptly. Obviously, even with Kyle's strong support without leaving any effort, it would be unrealistic to cultivate a strong man in the late stage of the universe in decades. It is better to say that it is already an outrageous thing to be able to cultivate nearly 30 cosmic-level powerhouses in a few decades. If Kyle's record is passed to the Star Federation, there will definitely be countless Domain Master-level powerful people who flock to him to ask for experience. After listening to the report of the Lord of Twilight, Kyle just nodded calmly. Well, is there another player in the mid-stage cosmic level? Not bad, not bad. Who is coming up this time? Every little guy like this can be said to be Kyle's heart if he can break through to the cosmic level in the small world. It's Li Kuijang. He unexpectedly encountered a powerful starry sky beast in the universe that devoured the starry sky mission space. He used the strategy manual to fill his favorability, and then plundered resources everywhere in the universe, breaking through the mid-stage realm of the universe level in one fell swoop. Quote, Li Kuijang, I remember that he seems to be the first player to enter the dusk space, right? Developing the strategy manual skills into beast control skills, this guy's brain is also very useful. Hearing the report from the Lord of Twilight, Kyle chuckled and shook his head. He still remembered that Li Kuijang's first novice mission seemed to be escaping under the giant bear's men. Who would have thought that after ending the Pirate World mission space, Li Kuijang, who entered the Battle Break world, would soar into the sky and use the strategy manual to fill up 7 times. The favorability of Kaisuntian Python and Ji Zuner. Then, with his various sexy postures, he became the strongest player in that round of fighting to break the world. Even with this, he broke through to the star level in one fell swoop. After that, Li Kuijang seemed to realize the real usage of this S-level skill, and became a soft-selling expert in various mission spaces, and his strength increased rapidly. Now he, the soft-salted king, is actually qualified to join the ranks of the top strongest people in the entire small world. However, Kyle is not disgusted with Li Kuijang, the soft rice king. It would be better to say that he can do everything possible to make himself stronger, which is more in line with his expected character. It's almost done. After roughly glanced at the young players who were still active in various mission spaces, Kyle spoke to the Lord of Dusk again. It's time to notify all the young players that after completing the ongoing mission, don't rush to enter the next mission space. In the near future, there will be a cross-regional war, waiting for them. It is rare that the Lord of Dusk did not immediately respond to Kyle's instructions. Its light ball flashed quickly, as if it was analyzing Kyle's intentions. After a while, the voice of the Lord of Dusk came again. Is it going to start a war against other domain lords, Lord Kyle? That's right. Kyle nodded seriously. In 30 years, Kyle has successfully taken over the entire Twilight Star domain, and even took all the surrounding star domains except the Shia Star domain, making the territory of the Twilight Star domain 30. It was several times larger than it was a year ago. Now all the ones bordering the Dusk Star domain are dominated by other domain masters. Kyle has already inquired about Star Federation. Among the 8 large star fields surrounding him, only 3 are internal members of the Star Federation. The remaining 5 are all casual cultivators with no background. Every domain owner will receive an invitation from the Star Federation when he first comes into contact with the Star Federation. After accepting the invitation, the domain master is equivalent to an internal member of the Star Federation and must go to the Star Federation to perform on-duty tasks on time. And this class may be worth hundreds of years. After the shift, the domain owner can obtain employee points from Star Federation. Through the employee points, you can purchase many products that help the improvement of the small world at a discounted price. It can be said that there are pros and cons. Therefore, many domain owners chose to join the Star Federation. But at the same time, more domain masters have become lone wolf and casual cultivator. And Kyle's goal is the master of the casual cultivator located in these star fields around him. The battle between the domain masters is no longer limited to the strength of individuals, but depends on the scale of the small world and the strength of the creatures in the small world. It can be said that the domain master is the creator god of the small world. Above the domain lord is the war between the creator gods, and the battle between small worlds. A few months later, when all the advanced players who received the command of the Dusk Lord God returned to the Dusk space, Kyle also came to the main star domain next door alone. Among the vast sea of stars, Kyle, who was like dust, emitted a scent that led the entire universe to tremble. This terrifying aura instantly touched the domain master who was guarding this star domain to absorb the power of wishes. In the dark underworld, a pair of scarlet eyes suddenly opened, and then a confusing murmur. Is this breath the new domain master next door? Kyle, who has been a domain master for less than 50 years, is indeed like a baby in front of these old domain masters who have existed for thousands or tens of thousands of years. But what the old domain master didn't expect was, the little baby in his eyes actually tore the void with his bare hands after discovering his breath and came to him step by step. The little guy next door. What are you doing here? Looking at Kyle who suddenly appeared, the domain master with scarlet eyes left and emitted a dangerous aura, and questioned Kyle. But at this time, Kyle seemed to have not heard it, but instead smiled gracefully at him. Lord of Katunik is right. Sorry to notify you that your journey to the domain master has ended here. What? Katunik, who was entrenched on a huge planet like a crocodile, was suddenly stunned. But in the next moment, the surging power of wish suddenly came towards Katunik like a crazy tsunami, instantly forming a mysterious vortex channel, connecting directly to the small world in his body. Until this moment, Katunik finally realized what Kyle wanted to do. But he couldn't understand how a guy who had been a domain lord for less than 50 years had dared to come and fight him in a small world war. Didn't he know that this was an act that was no different from suicide? Blood flashed in Katunik's eyes. No matter what, since the other party wants to give him resources, he naturally chose to accept it unconditionally. With the thought moving, Katunik also gathered a lot of willpower to build a channel that could connect the small world and take the initiative to meet Kyle. Katunik smiled cruelly. Come on, let me see what gifts you have prepared for me. What? The hideous smile suddenly disappeared. When the two small worlds were connected together, Katunik suddenly saw the appearance of the small world inside Kyle. What a small world it is. The universe in the main film is covered by a layer of Earth. Above the Earth are countless flashing stars. And below the Earth is divided into one wonderful and vast projection space after another. No, impossible. How could you have a small world of this size? Katunik roared in fear and regret. Chapter 339 War in the Small World. In an instant, Katunik's first thought was to quickly cut off the connection of the small world and escape immediately. But before he could mobilize his will, a terrifying and vast will suddenly gushed out of Kyle's body. The scale is dozens of times larger than before. The huge willpower directly fixed Katunik's small world in place, making him unable to move. And Katunik's figure was fixed in front of Kyle with the small world, and there was nowhere to escape. At the same time, in Kyle's small world, the dusk space that had been silent for a long time suddenly sounded a sound of the Dusk Lord that every player could hear. Open black lens bracket ding. Please note that the new mission mode, the extraterritorial battlefield, has been opened. The specific task information has been sent to the player's mission panel, please be careful to check it. Close black lens bracket. P.S. This mode will be related to the real world where the players are located. When players fail to complete tasks or fail in this mode, the real world will suffer a devastating blow. Close black lens bracket. P.P.S. In this mode, players are required to be consistent with the outside world and prohibit all bad competition among players. Close black lens bracket. The players who heard the prompt sound in the dusk space were shocked in an instant, and immediately clicked on their respective mission panels according to the prompts of the Dusk God. In an instant, a task panel full of bright red and blood suddenly appeared in front of them. The battle for the origin of the world. Close black lens bracket. Task introduction. The extraterritorial battlefield opened by the God of Creation has the mysterious power to connect other worlds. Whether it is life, death, creation, destruction, all of this will be decided by the players themselves. Close black lens bracket. Task requirements. Do everything to solve all living creatures in the other world. Close black lens bracket. Task reward. Reward points of varying degrees repeatable based on the number and level of killing extraterrestrial demons. Close black lens bracket. P.S. During the extraterritorial battlefield, high-level players have the ability to issue orders to low-level players through temporary extraterritorial battlefield communication channels. Whether to execute the execution is determined by the low-level players. Close black lens bracket. The enemy of the founding god, the battlefield outside the domain. Things are getting more and more interesting. Looking at the information on the mission panel, Yi Fan, who was already level 7 in the universe, suddenly flashed his eyes with his eyes. Even though he is no longer a teenager who can get second place at any time, with his talent and hard work, he has become the highest level player in the current dusk space with AD level skill. Yi Fan has enough capital for him. Yi Fan. At this moment, a supreme mecha filled with a breath of destruction suddenly landed beside Yi Fan. The helmet was opened, revealing Lin Lu's beautiful face, which was still young but with a bit of charm. Do you want to compare who kills more enemies in the battlefield outside the region? Lin Lu invited Yi Fan. Yi Fan looked at Lin Lu angrily. Use the supreme mecha of the 6th level of the universe to compare the number of enemies killed by me. Lin Lu, you are really good at calculating. HMPH. Lin Lu, who was exposed, chuckled twice, but said directly. What? Are you scared? Afraid? Yi Fan also let out a light hum. I'm just afraid that after you lose, I will cry again like last time. I don't know who was on the bed, and I grabbed my neck and begged for mercy. Boom. A missile that seemed to be teleportation suddenly landed at Yi Fan's position, and then exploded with power that was enough to destroy several galaxies, and exploded in this main god space. You guy, I'm not allowed to mention it again. Lin Lu, who was exposed, said in a graceful manner. Yi Fan, who moved instantly to avoid the missile, also apologized repeatedly. Okay, don't mention it. But I agreed that if you lose this time, you will be spanked by me. HMPH. Lin Lu raised her eyebrows and said, "Then if you lose, I will let me use the newly developed missile little JJ." Okay. One word is certain. One word is certain. The war begins. The two cosmic levels in the dusk space secretly made an extremely childish bet. In the next moment, a huge crack in time and space suddenly broke open in the square of dusk space, just like a scratch carved with a knife on the complete cloth strand. The breath of death, extinction, cruelty and bloody suddenly entered the dusk space through the cracks in that time and space, with a breath of intimidation and tyranny, invading the player's consciousness. However, players who have already experienced several similar atmosphere spaces do not care about some spiritual changes at all. With the command of the strongest player Yi Fan, countless players continued, like a rushing wave, instantly rushed into the cracks in time and space. In the blink of an eye, they came to a red bloody land. This is outside the domain eyes their space. Quote. A player murmured softly while alerting his surroundings. At this moment, a withered palm with carrion suddenly emerged from the scarlet ground and grabbed it directly at the player's thigh. Fortunately, the player had outstanding perception ability and instantly realized something was wrong. He directly flipped back and avoided the attack of the withered palm. Before his feet landed, he began to remind all players. Be careful. The enemy is underground. Soil escape is broken. Earth crack. The kind Mother Earth. With human reminder, some players with ground skills immediately used their own moves and began to attack unknown lives underground. Yi Fan, who followed other players into the extraterritorial battlefield, immediately took a warning move. But what surprised him was that under his extensive natural perception, he did not feel any threat in this extraterritorial battlefield. He even felt that this extraterritorial battlefield was not as terrifying as the space he participated in. The previous mission called Journey to the West. No. It should be said that there is a far difference. Strange. Is there a strong man in the enemy who can perceive hiddenly? Yi Fan did not relax his vigilance. After Lin Lu, who followed closely behind, he made Lin Lu release countless micro-detection robots to conduct a comprehensive measurement of this extraterritorial battlefield. But the final result was that they couldn't believe it. Because in this extraterritorial battlefield, they did not find a guy in the mid-stage cosmic level, all of whom were in the early stage of the cosmic level. And the number is less than 10. After obtaining the detection results, Lin Lu also showed a confused look on her face, and she looked at Yi Fan as if inquiring. After pondering for a while, Yi Fan thoughtfully touched his chin, which had a mature beard. Two possibilities. One is that the opposite side has a hidden ability that is far beyond our perception ability, so that we cannot detect the real situation in this world. The other possibility is this world. It's only that weak. Yi Fan and Lin Lu looked at each other, because there were too many unknown factors, so they decided to observe for a while before talking about it. Half an hour later, a total of more than 300,000 players rushed into the bloody soil full of death like a crucian carp crossing the river. The influx of the aura of a human being is like touching a certain mechanism in this world. The bloody earth seemed to have life at this moment, and it surged wildly, like a huge soft sarcoma. Following closely behind are countless pairs of strange arms stretching out from the ground. The withered arms were supported on the ground, dragging zombies of each race from the sleeping ground. The living dead is a special product in the small world of Katunik. Katunik's cultivation ideas actually have many similarities with Kyle. For example, its small world is actually divided into two sides, just like Kyle. On the front, there are wise creatures that are constantly reproducing. These creatures carry some energy themselves, but they are not powerful, and the strongest is just the primary level of the planetary level. But whenever the number of creatures in the positive world develops to a certain extent, Katunik will open two channels between positive and negative worlds, leaking blood and food from the positive world into the negative world, and providing the living dead with killing and eating. By absorbing fresh blood food, the power of the living dead will continue to increase. Even if you escape by chance, under the influence of the negative world, it will gradually lose consciousness and become a living dead person. When the number of living dead exceeds a certain level, Cthulhu will trigger the devouring war in the negative world, allowing the living dead to continue to devour, and eventually leaving the strongest living dead. Relying on this method, Cthulhu has cultivated 4 cosmic living dead people in the past 10,000 years. They are located in 4 directions of the Domain Master world. Cthulhu's plan is to continue to launch a devouring war between the cosmic living dead people when the number of cosmic living dead people reaches a certain level until the Domain Master level is cultivated. This method can not only quickly concentrate a large amount of energy on an individual through swallowing method, but also has a positive world as the foundation, so that its small world can be perfectly maintained. It can be said that even among the Domain Masters, Cthulhu's method is an extremely smart approach. It's a pity. His neighbor is Kyle. Wow, a living dead person who is not good enough actually has thousands of points rewards. I'm sending it. I'm going to send it. A planetary mid-stage player who slapped the head of a living dead with a wave of his hand and laughed wildly. His eyes when he looked at the living dead turned extremely scarlet, full of greed and murderous intent. Damn it. You guys leave me a few heads. I am a priest, but I don't have any attack skills. A priest holding a staff of light and smashed a planetary late-stage state said. Crazy. Crazy. It turns out that the battlefield outside the domain is so good. I can buy the martial arts that I can only look up to. For such a charitable activity, Lord Founder. Faced with hundreds of millions of living dead, players with only tens of thousands of people are not afraid at all fear, instead, rushing into the battlefield excitedly and killing desperately. For a moment, it was difficult to tell which one is the living dead and which one is the flesh and blood human. The battlefield command system temporarily built by the main god of Dusk greatly avoids the possibility of death of weak players. With the advanced authority in the mid-level cosmic level, Linlu has long sent the distribution map of the strongest among the living dead to everyone except Yi Fan and other mid-level cosmic level. With sufficient intelligence, each strong man has found his own opponent. The universe attacks stars, stars attack planets, but planets cannot attack. Because there have been no new players introduced for a long time, the weakest among the entire player group now has planetary combat power. A mere living dead are just leaks that provide points. What the little players don't know is, their amazing performance was completely scared by another guy of the same level as their great creation god. In the main world. Looking at Kyle's small world, Cthulhu was completely scared and lost his thinking ability. If it is only planetary and star level, the number of living dead people can be said to be dozens of times that of players. But a cosmic powerhouse. Even in nearly 10,000 years, Cthulhu has only trained 4. But there are dozens of cosmic levels in Kyle's small world. A cosmic level is enough to deal with all the living dead people below the cosmic level. He had no hope in this battle. Who are you? The dumbfounded Cthulhu gave Kyle the final question. After so many years, it has long been indifferent to life and death. Death is not terrible to Cthulhu. But he died in Kyle's hands, but he died with his eyes open. He doesn't believe that a little devil who has just become the domain master for 50 years can cultivate so many cosmic levels. You must know. The cultivation of creatures in the small world requires a lot of volunteer power. In nearly 10,000 years, although it took many detours in the first 5,000 years, it only cultivated 4 cosmic levels in the next 5,000 years. The degree of difficulty in this is self-evident. However, in the face of Cthulhu's questioning, Kyle smiled but said nothing, staring at the situation in the small world seriously. As Cthulhu said, under normal circumstances, it is impossible for an ordinary domain lord to have so much power in such a short time. But who said he is not ordinary? In the past few decades, Kyle has opened up many new industries and earned countless Star Alliance coins. Let the name of Dusk spread throughout the universe. During this period, countless domain masters in the Star Federation had advised Kyle not to pay too much attention to money. At the domain master level, the strength of the small world is the most critical. But Kyle ignored it at all and insisted on his own. In the end, with countless Star Alliance coins, he conquered the creatures in the entire star field, and provided him with huge willpower. Otherwise, he would not have been able to cultivate so many strong people in such a short time. You must know. The points obtained by players completing tasks are all formed by a combination of wishes. Seeing that Kyle refused to answer, Katunik no longer entangled and accepted his defeat. After the cosmic player cleaning up in a carpet style, the entire bloody little world was occupied by Kyle. Then Kyle directly controlled his willpower and condensed into a huge palm, wrapping up the blood-colored small world, dragging it into his body. Katunik, who died in the origin of the small world, completely disappeared after sending a low roar and returned to nothingness. Chapter 340, finally becoming the Lord of the Realm. Is this the harvest of World War? Kyle widened his eyes in shock, looking at the wish that he could only reap for nearly 10 years now, and a surprised smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Because Katunik gave up his resistance directly and had no intention of breaking the dead, Kyle even stored all his intact frontal world into his own small world space. This does not mean that Katunik has no ambition or is beaten desperately by Kyle. In fact, its operation is the choice of more losers in the battle between the domain masters. Because of this, it can ensure that its origin will not be destroyed too much. With this origin in the future, it will be reborn again. Although, it is in Kyle's small world. However, knowing that he would lose, Katunik chose this method that could protect himself as much as possible. And this also allows Kyle to gain more. It can be said to be a win-win choice. Although no one wants to make such a decision. The first battle was won. The main god of Dusk directly controlled his wishes and moved all the players back to the Dusk space in an instant, and began to calculate the points they received in this battle. And Kyle also directly divided Katunik's small world into two. Put the intact frontal world in the corner to see if there is any room for operation in the future. As for the blood-colored world that gave birth to the living dead, it was directly crushed by him and turned into the original one, the power of wish nourishes and supplements his small world. So who should I choose for my next target? Kyle recalled the information of several other domain masters nearby in his mind. Seeing the sweetness of the domain lord's battle, he was already a little bit over. But at least after the battle with Katunik, Kyle was sure that the guy who became the domain lord within 10,000 years would definitely not be his opponent. Unless the other party can have magical plugins like him. Soon, Kyle had a clear goal in his heart, and his figure turned into a ray of light and disappeared into this universe. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 200 years passed by like a flash of time. The star field at Dusk, the world of pirates. As the main planet of the huge Dusk star field, the pirate world at this time is unprecedentedly rich and abundant. Countless interstellar warships come and go, stopping and stopping, bringing endless vitality and resources to this planet. With the efforts of several members of the pirates at Dusk, the pirate world at this time has long since disappeared. In terms of volume alone, it is now hundreds of times larger than 200 years ago. It is enough to allow more alien civilizations to come here to survive and communicate. But, no matter how many times the pirate world has undergone transformation, several locations on this planet have not been changed. One of them is the island that was originally called the East China Sea, but now it is called the East 13th District. Frost Moon Village. Frost Moon Hall. Zoro, Dad, it's time to eat. A mature woman dressed in Yamato Sashiko, whose eyebrows were filled with a sword-like heroic spirit, shouted softly to the inside of the gym. Oh Tilda, I understand. Come here. Two replies came from the inside of the gym one after another. One is mature and steady, the other is already a little old. Not long after, a squinting old man with white hair and a green algae head walked out of the gym's training room one after another. This training room is not an ordinary training room. It is a training room unique to the Twilight Pirates that can make people become stronger quickly. And this green algae head is naturally one of the strongest players in the Twilight Pirates, Roronoa Zoro. As for the old man with white hair, it was his master, Koshiro Schwangyu. The two of them arrived at the dining table one by one and the other later. The mature woman in a kimono served 2 bowls of miso from the pot and handed them to the two at one time. There was a slight envy in the woman's eyes. Because only members of the Twilight Pirates can enter that training room. And she, who had just been resurrected more than 100 years ago, did not meet the Captain Kyle whom everyone respected, so naturally she did not have the chance to join the Twilight Pirates. Yes. This mature woman is Gwina, a childhood playmate who was successfully resurrected after comprehending the rules of life and death of the main world more than 100 years ago, along with the yellow springs of the pirate world. After resurrecting Gwina, Zoro rarely entered the training room, but took his childhood sweetheart back to the pirate world and witnessed the different customs and changes in the pirate world. This trip took several years. Finally, with the consent of Koshiro Schwangyu, the two succeeded and became husband and wife. After that, Zoro and Gwina spent nearly 100 years traveling in the Dusk Star Field. During this period, Gwina has become a strong man in the Peak Star realm under the cultivation of rich resources. However, without the help of the training room, she could only do this and it was difficult to go further. If you want to enter the next stage, it will take hundreds or thousands of years to accumulate. Originally, Gwina was sad for a while, but as she and Zoro's first baby were successfully conceived, she immediately changed her identity and changed from a powerful swordsman to a great mother. Finally, she and Zoro returned to the Frost Moon Gymnasium in the pirate world, where they gave birth to children. Zoro is now a powerful man at the peak of the universe and the father of 3 children. This kind of quiet life sometimes makes Zoro wonder whether his life will be a beautiful dream. But soon, Zoro's peaceful life was about to be interrupted. Dee. Just after Zoro finished lunch, a burst of quick prompt sound suddenly sounded from his personal terminal on his wrist. Zoro subconsciously pressed the answer button. In an instant, the charming face of mature Robin appeared in the room instantly. Zoro, come to Tiga immediately to assemble. Something happened. Zoro, who had not returned to Tiga for almost decades, showed a curious look. Robin smiled slightly. Nothing is wrong, it's just Captain Kyle, he's back. What did you say? Plop. Because of being too excited, a trace of the aura on Zoro's body suddenly leaked out, and the entire dining table and chair were instantly crushed into powder by the terrifying aura. Even the surrounding buildings and islands were shocked instantly under Zoro's excitement. Fortunately, people in the pirate world, or the Twilight Star domain, have loaded character cards and obtained a certain amount of power. They will not be injured because of the little breath exposed by Zoro's out of control. As for Koshiro and Gwina, at this moment he also showed an excited expression like Zoro. Gina still remembers that Zoro told her a long time ago that once Captain Kyle comes back, he immediately asks Captain Kyle to give her the opportunity to the highest. And very good. Since Captain Kyle has returned, wouldn't it mean he has become the master of the world? Although the words followed were not spoken, Zoro could no longer hide his inner throbbing. Lord of the realm. But they have not even found the way to become the domain lord. Captain Kyle, he is indeed a man who can constantly create miracles. After calming down his inner emotions for a moment, Zoro looked at Gwina and his master and said, Master, Gina, this time I summon Captain Kyle. I may have to issue new instructions to us captains, so I won't take you there. But Gwina, don't worry about your affairs. If Captain Kyle knew that you had been resurrected by me, I believe he would be very happy. Okay. Gwina looked at Zoro gently and expectantly. A mature woman will never affect a man's career. Koshiro also nodded and smiled. Not long after, Zoro, who was ready, soared into the sky and flew towards the sky. At the same time, a large number of figures flew out from every corner of the Dusk Star Field. The weakest figures also had the level of the late-stage cosmic realm. And these people are the captains under the Dusk Pirates. Somewhere in the Dusk Star Field, it is on the Tiga, which is traveling in the universe. With the arrival of captains one after another, the momentum of the entire Tiga was like an eternal star, emitting terrifying energy fluctuations into the surrounding universe. However, it is such a group that is quieter than the other at this time. Everyone stood on the deck excitedly, lined up on both sides. At this moment, a light but crisp footsteps suddenly came from the cabin of the Tiga. Everyone's eyes instantly looked in the direction where the sound came. I saw a young human slowly appearing in their sight. Long time no see you everyone. Kyle showed a warm smile, and a gentle breath stroked everyone's face, greeting everyone. Long time no see, Captain Kyle. Zoro and others, standing in the front, immediately greeted Kyle after hearing Kyle's voice. Ace, who was standing by, asked excitedly. Captain Kyle, since you are back, do you mean? Ace didn't finish his words, but made everyone look at Kyle with anticipation. Kyle smiled lightly and slowly stretched out his palm. In an instant, a space-time wormhole like a black hole suddenly appeared in Kyle's palm. Immediately afterwards, a colorful world appeared beside everyone through the surface of this black hole. It was a world full of mystery. Various high-rise buildings and technological products occupy the vast majority of the world's area. But people's dressing is indeed more inclined toward the fantasy world. There are even many people who are surrounded by an extraordinary pet, just like the world of Pokemon. And this is just a part of the novelty of this world. This is. Luffy curiously put his big face over, wanting to see the world more clearly. But he had just put the connection onto the black hole, and an inexplicable suction suddenly wrapped him. Even with his strength at the peak of the universe level, he could not resist at all. When Luffy opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a pure white space. Where is this place? Luffy scratched his head in confusion. He did not show any warning expression. After all, with Captain Kyle here, he would not be in danger. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Luffy. That was a young man who looked about the same age as Luffy. Of course, after reaching a certain level of strength, no information about a person can be judged by appearance or something. Who are you? Luffy asked curiously. The boy smiled softly and said to Luffy. Hello, you should be Lord Monkey D. Luffy. Please come with me, the great creator god has arranged everything. After the words came to an end, the boy turned around and walked towards a huge ball of light. The creator god. Luffy scratched his head in confusion again. But now he is no longer a little guy who doesn't know anything and only knows nonsense. He instantly realized that the founding god mentioned by the person opposite should be their Captain Kyle. Thinking of this, Luffy quickly followed the young man. After walking a few steps, he suddenly remembered something and asked the boy. Oh, by the way. May I have your name? Me. The young man smiled lightly and replied, my name is Yi Fan. Yi Fan, Luffy murmured twice, looked at the back of the boy in front of him, and thought to himself. Although he is not a perception player, his eyesight at the peak of the universe level can't tell what the boy's strength is. Many people are as weak as ordinary people. But the real nothingness. There are only two possibilities for this situation. First, the young man in front of him has the means to cover up himself. The second is. This young man has the strength that is more than Luffy. If you surpass the peak of the universe, then there is only Domain Master level. The boy walking in front of Luffy seemed to guess what Luffy was thinking, and suddenly stopped and turned around and smiled at him. I am a Domain Master Swordsman, Lord Luffy. Domain Master level. Domain Master level. Luffy's pupils trembled, and his heart also tightened. He didn't expect that this young man who was so respectful to him would be a Domain Master level powerhouse with even stronger strength than him. Before the doubts in his heart fell, Yi Fan seemed to have guessed what he was thinking again. Don't be puzzled, Lord Luffy. You will know everything soon. Come on, the founding god has everything ready. Please choose the path of the Domain Master you want to take. Yi Fan smiled and reached out and gently tapped on the ball of the incarnation of the Lord of Dusk. In an instant, a series of power systems were presented in front of Luffy in a dazzling array of products like discounted and promoted products in shopping malls. Seeing this scene, Luffy suddenly realized everything in his heart. This is the world created by Captain Kyle. Captain Kyle, as the master of the world, has the ability to connect the small world and the main world. In the rules of the main world, if you want to break through the main level of the domain, you must use a lot of willpower to create your own small world. This is undoubtedly a very difficult and time-consuming task for ordinary Twilight members without system assistance. Perhaps thousands of years have passed, only a few domain masters can be produced among them. But after Captain Kyle became the Lord of the World, all this was completely different. After entering Captain Kyle's small world, they can fully utilize the rules of the small world to embark on the unique path of the domain master. So that's the case. Luffy, who had made everything clear, became excited in his heart. He directly selected a system that conforms to his characteristics among the numerous power systems, and then a flash of light was directly teleported to a cultivation place that belonged to him. Just a few minutes after Luffy left, a green algae head with 3 long swords on his waist walked into this world. Seeing this, Yi-Fan immediately smiled and greeted him. "Hello, you are Lord Roronoa Zoro. Please come with me." The finale.